Welcome to Refused Flank, a wargaming podcast exploring the intersection of competitive excellence and narrative storytelling potential. Hey, this is Cam, and like we mentioned last week, this is the second part of our Ork Codex review for Warhammer 40,000 4th edition. So if you haven't heard the first half of that, you can, well, not really half, but if you haven't heard the first part of that, you can go check out last episode and hear our thoughts overall and on the lore, etc. of this Ork Codex. But this week we'll be diving into specifically the army list, and so the different options available, units, etc. And we'll talk through all of that. So buckle up, because it's a long one.
Okay. Do we want to get into the Ork special rules?
Yeah, let's just start at that top level. We've got the WAAAAAAAGH rule.
Love this rule.
The Mob rule and Furious Charge. And so those are seen on most Ork models in the Codex. I think it's really just Gretchen that don't have those three things. But yeah, talk to us about them.
Okay, WAAAAAAAGH. This is the quintessential WAAAAAAAGH. I don't WAAAAAAAGH very well.
Yeah, it's hard to not sound like a baby.
Yeah,
Wow.
I don't know. Some people, I think, can pull this off. I am not one, so I'm sorry.
I don't think our microphones are set up for us to pull it off.
Yeah, that's true. That's going to be my excuse. But essentially, one turn of the game, I believe, not the first turn, though, specifically, you can declare that a WAAAAAAAGH is occurring. And then basically, if I recall correctly, if the unit has this rule, they basically gain fleet.
Right.
But it's like fleet with a worse aspect, because if you roll a 1, somebody like dies, right? It's because they started fighting too early.
Yeah, they take a wound, which you can still try to save.
Fair enough.
Ostensibly, but yeah.
Well, and some of the boys can take heavy armor and stuff, so I guess that's not. But it's basically fleet, and you can charge after that.
D6 inches during the shooting phase instead of shooting, which most of the time with Ork units being all ballistic skill 2, giving up shooting is meaningless. So
yeah, for a lot, depending on the situation, this is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Just in a game where everything's factored around 6-inch increments for the most part in terms of movement, just interfering with that
just a little bit, even if you do roll low,
can be enough in a lot of circumstances. So
yeah, and a lot of this army is very much like, even if you take a lot of shooty stuff, most of it's going to miss. And so you really still need to just get into close combat eventually. And so the faster you can do that, the better. So I think this is really kind of an essential rule for the Orks to be able to do. One thing I always get wrong is I think you have to do it at the beginning of the turn, but it's actually at the beginning of the shooting phase that you can decide to trigger this.
So you can wait.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there are specific reasons why that would be helpful, but
I believe later on they changed when fleet occurs or running or whatever, because this was because of what you're describing, where it was like, well, does it make sense to move everybody and then be like, oh, and now they're going to fleet again, versus just saying, I'm moving them now and I'm going to fleet in one instant action, but how do you make that flow in the rules? But neither here nor there. And I don't see it here, but I thought you couldn't do this on the first turn of the game. Once per game, this may be declared. Oh, this may not be normally declared. Okay, yeah. So you can't WAAAAAAAGH turn 1. Yeah. So I don't know if you necessarily would want to, but I'm sure in some matchups or scenarios that might be something you'd want to do, but you can't do that specifically. They got to start running first, I guess.
Yeah. If you want to hear a good WAAAAAAAGH, you can watch the intro cinematic to the original Dawn of War. There's a pretty good one in there.
Pretty much all the audio in Dawn of War is pretty amazing. Yeah, the Ork boys. Didn't we just get one link to, I'm going to set me get finder the pansy. Yeah, no, they've got excellent voice lines.
Yes.
I just love Orks. Honestly, I'm going to get distracted here, but back when I was learning 40K in like 2009, so like early 5th ed with a guy online, we played a lot of Vassal. First army I was playing was actually this book.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I played this book probably like, I don't know, 6 or 7 times, I'm going to say. And then I started migrating more to Chaos from there. But these were always the two that I used to play when I was learning and kind of figuring out the universe. I just loved the stupid voices and all that. I don't know.
And I appreciate you using them on this episode.
I just can't help myself. They're probably terrible, but it is what it is. Okay, mob rule. Do you want to talk about mob rule?
Yeah, so this is the idea that when there's enough boys around, they believe they can do anything and they're not going to be scared. So you can always choose to, for a unit that has this, which again is most Orks, use the number of Orks in the unit instead of the leadership value of the unit, which is really good because Orks don't have particularly great leadership. And if they start running, that can be not so good. And so this helps keep them moving towards the enemy. So taking big mobs of boys is really helpful. That essentially makes them fearless if there's at least 11, because you can't roll less than that on.
Yep. So you can't be pinned. You're not gonna. And because this incentivizes bigger mobs. If you're in melee and you lose, even though you're fearless, you're probably outnumbering the enemies. So you're not having the extra hits. This is super synergizing, and it's themey because you want a bunch of boys to get the benefit. Yeah. So it's just like big hordes are big and they're tough and there's lots of them and they ain't gonna run, and I love it. So perfect rule. I don't know.
Just a bummer that if you take orcs and put them in a truck, you can only take 12 to fit in the truck, and then they lose this immediately when they lose somebody.
I'm not too bothered by that, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, they don't need it as much when they're in the truck. Obviously, we talked about the whole pinning thing on our review of 40K with getting entangled and whatever.
Notably, the ramshackle rule, we'll get into that.
Oh, ignores that. It
specifically circumvents it. So I think they knew by the end of 4th that was too bad, and they changed it in 5th, of course. But
yeah, either way, I agree that the trucks do help because they're not just getting shot directly as they're charging across the battlefield.
Yeah, but mob rule, this rule more than any other basically allows for green tide and is quite powerful. The only thing I think that would really check a green tide player, like actually 6 mobs of 30 boys each, would be just painting all that. Pardon me.
Yeah. It's stopping me.
Right, yeah. I mean, that's 180 boys, and that's probably like, even at 1,500, that's not that many points. That's like maybe a little over half your army. I didn't do the math, but what is that? There's 6 times 180.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
Yeah, that's only 1,080 points.
Yeah, so you still got 500 points, almost 400 points. So you're gonna have like 200 models, no problem, and that would be terrifying. You can't
shoot them all.
Yeah, you literally you don't have enough guns.
Yeah,
so
and I think that's honestly one of the key strategies with this book is just give an overwhelming number of target options so that they can't kill all of the things.
100%.
But we can get to that at the end. I suppose when we talk tactics.
Furious Charge. This is kind of a generic rule, but they just kind of listed it as one that's unique to them. But almost all the orcs have Furious Charge, which when you charge, you get +1 strength, +1 initiative. For orc boys, the initiative isn't great because they go from a 2 to a 3.
Yeah, so this is honestly essential. I've charged so many things and then just gotten killed because I still have a lower initiative, even with initiative +1 on the charge. Space Marines, for example.
Yeah, notably Space Marines.
Which is frustrating, I will say. But it does help, because otherwise that very low initiative. But I think it also creates that combination of a low base initiative, but having Furious Charge, very Alpha Strike glass cannon kind of a thing, because like you really have to pack a punch on that first hit with the charge, or else you lose a lot because you're going down in a strength, so you're not wounding as much. Again, Space Marines, you go from wounding on a 4 to a 5. Yeah. And so if you're not getting them on that first round, then you're going to very slow down killing them, especially with power armor saves. So I think it does create a really cool interaction there where they really do feel more powerful. I think it helps balance out the idea of like, all the images make these orcs look so strong, and this is they're not just base strength 4, but they have this Furious Charge to have it as they hit home. So I think it's a really cool and kind of essential thing, because again, with that really low base initiative, that hurts.
What I'll say is it definitely hurts, but if you're not charging another dedicated like melee squad, I don't think you care most of the time. One of the unique things about the orcs, well, I guess it's not that unique. We talked about this. There's a lot of weapon skill 4 in this game.
Yeah.
But they're weapon skill 4, and that's a really key, like the big breakpoints are like 3, 4, or 5. Those are huge light years differences, but 4 is enough to where they're not going to get hit back as much by 90% of the game. So unless it's a dedicated melee unit and a dedicated melee unit with good strength, because they're all tough 4, they're actually not going to theoretically lose that many. And if it's a mob of, even if let's say it was a mob of 30 and you lost 6 on the way in, you got 24, let's say they kill 4 somehow, that's still going to be on the charge. If they're slug of boys, that's going to be,
I guess that's my problem.
80 attacks still.
But with 30 boys, you're not getting them all in.
Correct. There's that's what I'm saying. Let's say you take 30.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You take 30, they're slug of boys. Let's say 6 die before you get there, and then 4 more die in melee. So you got 20. That's 4 boy attacks.
I was just saying they're not all going to be within 2 inches of somebody in base contact.
I hear you. Okay, fair enough. That's fair. But
Either way, it's a lot of attacks.
What I'm trying to get at is probably at least 30 or 40 attacks. Still, at least.
And obviously in 40k 4th ed, you get +1 attack on the charge.
Yep.
Everybody gets that. And so when you have Sluggaboys who already have 2 attacks base, and
then another one for pistol
and close combat weapon, and then another one for the charge, that's so many attacks. So it is devastating. I think this is like it creates a pretty all or nothing feel, I think, for the army, because you're just getting annihilated as you charge in and doing almost no damage with your shooting. But then once you hit home, I think the other player starts feeling that way of like, it's just an overwhelming horde that I can't do anything to stop once they've attacked me. But yeah, I think a lot of that requires those really large units, because if you don't, then you just, too many people die on the way in. You don't have the numbers when you get there. And I think especially at the lower point levels, you can feel that quite a bit where, or I guess maybe you could still take a lot of boys, I guess, at lower points levels. I don't have that many painted. I think the biggest
boys
unit
are
I can
very
take is
good,
20, so.
is what I would say. I think the boy, just the base boy, which we'll get
They're
to.
amazing. Yeah.
I think are probably the most efficient unit in the game for what you get for 6 points.
Yeah.
They make guardsmen cry. Guardsmen
honestly,
wish.
when I look at the guardsman stat line and points cost, and then look at the orcs, it's just I don't understand.
Guardsmen,
how is that possible?
Pray that they could remotely get close, because a guardsman squad, which we're not reviewing today, but they're like in the 3.5 decks, they're like 60 points for 10 guys, so it's basically about 6 points a guy, about the same.
But they suck.
But they
have no bonuses.
They really don't have any major advantages.
I don't understand why that is. I guess we'll have to review that book and talk about it.
No.
They also still pay a premium for heavy weapons.
Yep.
And still are only ballistic skill 3.
Correct.
So I don't understand.
Yeah, no, guardsmen just plain Jane, and then the las gun too, I would argue, is far worse than the pistols and shooters. Shooters are actually really good.
They are.
But
we're getting ahead of ourselves.
We are.
One army-wide special rule that I do miss from the 3rd edition codex is they had something I can't remember the name of now, but essentially if a mob of orcs broke and was fleeing, they could recombine with another unit.
Mob up.
Yeah, I think that might be what it's called. And that felt very themey, with the idea that once they're with their numbers again, they can reconvene, they can join back up, and then keep moving forward, which I think creates more of that feeling of the horde advancing, which is really cool. The orc boys in that codex were much more expensive, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why, is because it's a lot harder to totally get the unit to just leave and flee off the battlefield. But that would also help alleviate a lot of the issues I run into, which is where, if you just get focused shooting on orc boys, they die in droves because they're really not that strong with often a save 6+
against pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Except for the las gun, I guess.
And so that sounds like a really cool rule. Obviously, I don't know that I would trade the points difference because, again, at 6 points, that seems too low to me. But maybe it's just comparing that to Imperial Guard. Comparing it to other things, maybe it's fine.
Once you look at 5th ed codexes, I think you realize, okay, that's really what they were costing. Because then you look at the 5th ed Guard codex and what they get there, and it's like they get orders and stuff where they can do like first rank fire, second rank fire, and they get all these
sort of the bonus then that they get.
Yeah, they get orders in 5th. So again, if you kind of look ahead and like what maybe they were working on, I don't know, because this era of GW, it feels like sometimes it's like just the author got to do kind of whatever they wanted. I imagine there was a team.
You would like to think so, that they were checking and playtesting.
Right, but I know it's like people don't like Matt Ward or whatever. Probably unfortunate for that fellow. I'm sure he's just like, I'm making a fun book. And then everybody's like, this is the most overpowered garbage. I hate it. And it's like, he's just like, oh, I thought it was fun. Poor guy. But I don't know. I imagine he got team input. But yeah, no. Any other big rules? I think those are the only 3 really listed. Everything else is more specific.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, do we want to go into units?
Yeah, let's dive in.
Before we do, I'm presuming we are not touching special characters. I don't know if you wanted to bring up, because they have a lot there, like attachments.
Yeah, no, I don't intend to.
Okay, fair enough. So if you want that, feel free to look at the book yourself.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. We'll do a little add-on episode to cover that.
I think they're all pretty good, is what I'll say.
Yeah, they're just like plussed up knobs. Or
I really like Zagstruck specifically. He has like a power claw that strikes at initiative when he charges. Cool. Love that.
Yeah, it's super great.
Okay.
Terminator killer.
Yep. War bosses. Remember what I said about boys being like super efficient? War Boss is that, but the character. For 60 points, this dude is strength, toughness 5, 3 wounds, 4 attacks.
Yeah.
4 attacks, everyone. Furious charge, so he can just be strength 6 on the charge, which is like nothing.
Yeah, and starts at initiative 4, which is nice.
So he's going to swing before Marines if he wants to. Although, frankly, with you, I'm giving this guy a power claw every day of the week. I mean, I'm sure you could go a different build, but for me, he's strength 10. That's the big thing. He's doubling strength 5. He's strength 10. He picks up anything and
ignores armor, which is huge.
And because
the way armor works.
Yes, and because he's tough 5, if a Marine's punching back with a power fist, he is not instant deathed because he's not doubled.
Oh, true.
So, and you just give him cyborg body for a 5-up invuln or whatever.
Yeah.
This dude is like crazy hard to kill, and he's weapon skill 5, so the Marine characters, they're only hitting him on 4s. So he's as fighty as a Marine like chapter master, except for like the crazy named ones, which we're not talking about. But like this dude goes into Marine characters, takes it on the chin, or if they have a power fist too, he annihilates them and maybe gets like hit once or twice, but he will absolutely devastate them. Yeah. I have a memory of taking a war boss with a power claw against sisters online in Vassal with Saint Celestine, which is their like big special character, and she can kind of resurrect or whatever over and over again. What would happen is I was locked in combat with this big unit of sisters and my boys and my war boss, and I kept killing her over and over again with my power claw war boss, and she kept resurrecting.
I bet he loved that.
And it was something. But I just remember my war boss killed Saint Celestine multiple times in one game with his power claw. This guy is absolutely gobsmackingly awesome. Yeah. That's ignoring
and being able to keep him in a unit to protect him is huge. Obviously on the way in, put him with a bunch of boys just so that they can be soaking up the wounds as they charge, make sure he gets to the enemy lines intact.
And you can put him on a bike if you want him to be fast. I think a war boss on a bike,
in a big mob of bikes,
terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. You can give him heavy armor if you want him to have a 4-up, just why not? Yeah, that will come up sometimes, especially as a character.
Yeah, that makes him tough 6 too, right?
Heavy armor just gives him a 4-up armor.
Sorry, the bike.
Oh, the bike will make him tough 6. Yeah. Correct. Yeah, which is what? What are we doing? Now, if they don't have a power fist, let's say they're a character with a power sword, which frankly, you kind of want on a lot of like Marine characters, because one of the benefit of a Marine character is your initiative 5. So as soon as you take the fist, you're kind of dumping one of your good stat lines that you have. Whereas a fist is better on, say, a sergeant.
Because they're maybe not going first anyways.
Yeah, so you care less, and then a sergeant can just whoops, I killed your character, but an actual character wants to swing first and kill those guys. So it's a Space Marine with a power sword or whatever. He doesn't care. You're wounding me on 6s on a bike. You're not even going to hurt me. Yeah. And then I'm going to pick you up with my power claw and kill you instantly. Absolutely terrifying. He can be expensive once you start doing that, but again, 60 points base for this. Honestly, in like a small points game, if you like played 500 points, you could take this dude naked, and I think he's absolutely terrifying. Would I try to take the power claw? Absolutely. But you could just give him a big choppa, just be really cheap, and this dude is absolutely nuts. Yeah, huge fan. I didn't even talk about mega armor, where he gets a 2-up. But then he gets slow and purposeful, which is...
put him in a battle wagon, though.
Put him in a battle wagon. So it's like, I love him. And he unlocks Mega Knobs or Knobs as a troop's choice.
Yeah. Which is great. Well, it's one of those can be a troop's choice.
Right, but still, so it's still more.
Good. Yeah. Just to clarify.
But fair enough. Any thoughts? I know I talked a lot. I have a lot of thoughts on the War Boss, obviously.
Yeah, no, I think he's great. He's got a lot of the standard character options available. Ammo rent, get a reroll, attack squig, extra attack, things like that. So I think a lot of these are helpful little upgrades, but the main thing is he's just super killy. And like you said, pretty efficient for his points cost. So
starts with frag grenades too.
Also, always nice.
Not a huge thing, but hey,
but if he's the only one in the unit that has them, it doesn't do anything, right? We never did decide that.
I think we've kind of decided it would affect him. I think they clarify that later in like 5th or something. But my big takeaway here is you take War Boss, you take Power Claw, unless you have a really good reason not to, because Strength 10 means he kills everything. He kills Land Raiders, he kills Terminator, he kills everything.
Yeah, and my model has one, so there you go. Always take one.
Just take it.
Cool, yeah. Next HQ choice is the Big Mech, and he is almost half the points at only 35, but has much worse stats. So he's only weapon skill 4, strength 4, toughness 4, so more just like a normal knob. 2 wounds, 3 attacks. So, I mean, he's still better than a lot of characters in fighting, or lower level characters, I will say.
Yeah.
And he's still going to crump an Imperial Guardsman.
He'll pick up a lieutenant without issues.
But if he's going up against Space Marines, definitely not so helpful. But that's where I think a lot of his weapon options come in. You don't necessarily want this guy up in the front. The one exception maybe is if you are giving him a Burna or Power Claw, because those are close range options. Or also the custom force field. So that gives like a 6-inch bubble. Any units that are partially within that 6-inch bubble get a 5-up cover save. And so keeping him at the pace of the rest of your army in order to provide that is pretty powerful, especially because a lot of orc units don't have much armor, and so getting that cover save that's not going to get eaten up by armor piercing is really helpful. The last game we did a couple weeks ago, I actually rolled really well on those cover saves, so it definitely more than paid for its points for me that time. But it is pretty expensive, and it does prevent him from taking any of his other cool weapon options, which I think are definitely worth looking at.
They were definitely thinking that ahead, that you couldn't stack these together. It's like you pick which mech you want, kind of.
Yeah, and they kind of have one main thing that's their thing, and the custom force field is the main thing. So you could also stick them in mega armor, turn them into the Terminator Light. Obviously, it's a 2+ armor save. They get the combi weapon, the combi shooter,
and they get a power claw
built into it, which is really pretty efficient for the 40-point upgrade. But then slow and purposeful, like you said. And the other, I think, main thing that you would maybe want to take here is the shock attack gun, which is the snotling vacuum, where you suck up snotlings and then shoot them through a warp portal into the enemy. And this is absolutely one of the most random things in the army list. It could be one of the most powerful things, and it can just kill you and the entire unit he's with.
Correct. And I had the latter happen once, again, in a vassal game. I forgot what I was shooting at, but I rolled like double 1 on my thing, so I got boom. And then it said models within D6 are just removed from play, and I rolled a 6 on that. So I remember being like, and the opponent I was playing against, he was just like, oh, I think that guy's out. And I was just like, nah, he's dead. And I just remember being like, dead, picking them all up. Like, everybody just died. And it was just like, I think it was like turn 1 too. It was something terrible. At that point, I guess you just re-rack, but potentially devastating. Really long range, too.
Yeah, because it also can just instantly kill what you're shooting at.
Yeah, so...
it's the same likelihood as just instantly killing you.
Yeah,
which I think is, what, a 1 in 6 chance? Or is it because it's 2 dice and on double ones that happens?
It's double ones, so it's 1 out of 36 for getting double ones.
So very small chance.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's a range 60-inch, strength 2d6. So could be very powerful, could be very weak, but it's AP 2, ordnance 1, large blast. So... I think one of the things...
You just pick up a Terminator squad.
Yeah, absolutely. And since it's guess range, you don't need the ballistic skill, which is helpful, because all ordnance is guess, or scatter, I guess. It's not guess range, is it?
No, it's not. Scatter. It's not G. It doesn't have the G there.
But the scatter thing being ordnance is
more
what
you
I
roll
mean there.
On the scatter die to hit.
Right. So you're always going to hit, essentially. It's going to hit somewhere. You're not going to roll and not get a 5-up and miss like most orc weapons. So I think this overcomes one of the orcs' biggest weaknesses, which is that ballistic skill 2 across the board for all orcs.
Worth noting that's just true for them as a race for ordnance weapons, which is normally like a downside. To them, it is literally statistically the same. So they're just like, cool.
And especially with a large blast, like it's, well,
this is just a buff to them most of the time.
So I think this is a really good option. I still need to model one so that I can take it as an option, but I think it'll be coming. I think it's very good against Space Marines, and our, like we've talked about, meta is very heavy Space Marines.
Yep.
Half of our armies are power armored, and so I think that this is one of the few things that can en masse take out power armor. Most other things in the army that are AP 3 or lower are only one shot, so it's unlikely to be able to take out more than one Space Marine at a time. But this gun, this is where it's at, if you're willing to risk the chaos that could ensue.
Every so often you're going to have a game where you just die.
Yep. But again, as we said, if you're the type of orc player that can frame that as chaos happened, fighting happened, it's a win.
Indeed.
Then it won't matter.
Yep.
The Big Mech also has mech tools, which can help repair vehicles, so keeping him with a vehicle or in a unit that's riding around in a vehicle can be helpful. And then the Grot Oilers, I don't quite remember what those do.
It lets you re-roll a mech tool roll.
Okay, that's great. Okay.
So you can, if you failed, you can try again. So if you want more consistent repairs, I think the real benefit of this is theoretically you put him in a battle wagon with a group, and then you put a custom force field on him. So you're giving the force field to the battle wagon, I would think.
And keeping it from being immobilized.
Yeah, and then you can repair it while you're in the battle wagon or something. I could see that.
I think that's a good combo that a lot of people used at the time. And from what I understand, you then trace from the hull.
That would be really potent.
Yeah, I don't know. That feels a little
little gamey, but whatever.
I think we would pick a point, or maybe we could just put the model there and then measure from the base in the center of the vehicle.
Here. Yeah. But he ran to the back for this time, so he can catch those guys. Yeah,
I think we'd figure something out.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to measure from the hull. That'd feel a little bit much.
Yeah, it's fine.
Anything else to say about the Big Mech?
No, I think he's awesome.
Yeah, he's got a lot of the same otherwise options that he can take, ammo runt, cyborg body, all those sorts of things.
Yeah, for me, I think the big standout is definitely the custom force field, like what you're using. I love that. I think it's
really good. Again, makes up for another major weakness of the army.
Yeah, so just always having 5-up saves, and you just mob up. You know, everybody's close together. And notably, I think you said this, you don't have to have the whole unit in. You just have to have one guy in to qualify. So you can just... So you can be quite spread out, more than you'd expect.
And you kind of want to be, because Orks
templates
are very susceptible to blast weapons, I found out the hard way.
So, but I think he's very powerful, and I would say if I'm always taking a war boss, I would ideally, at a large points value, always take a Big Mech as a secondary HQ.
With the force field.
Yeah, I really like it as a baseline, unless I know I want to do something a little different.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try out the shock attack gun, but I think the force field definitely feels like the more reliable option to provide guaranteed benefit.
Yeah.
I also just want to mention that things like the Grot Oilers, the ammo runts, the attack squig on the war boss are all cool little modeling opportunities. Those are all things that don't have an actual model that takes up space, and it specifies that in the special rules. And so you can either make it on its own separate base, or you could model it onto the base of the Warlord or Big Mech, etc., etc. But those are all just cool little things that you can use to add a little bit more flavor and character to your army, which I think is a cool thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I believe after that, is it the Weird Boy?
It sure is. 55 points for the Ork Psyker.
I am less super big on him. So I guess we need to talk about how he just works, because he doesn't pick his spells.
It's random every time he attempts to cast a spell. You don't know what's going to happen. So very unreliable.
Yeah. So this is
sometimes could be very powerful.
There are,
but other times useless.
They're all reasonably good, I will say.
They are, but some are situational. Yeah. And so some would be useless in certain circumstances.
There is one, if you roll a 1, it's a D6 roll, by the way. So 1 out of 6 times, he just hurts himself. Basically, he frazzles himself. What I could see being frustrating maybe here is you roll the things that help you in melee when you're getting in, and then once you're in melee, you roll the ranged blast attacks.
And that's just what you can't control and don't know. And so for 55 points, it's kind of a hard sell for me.
Yeah, you can make him a warp head, which lets him do 2 a turn. I like the idea. What I'm worried about is but that makes him more likely to headbanger himself.
Also true, yeah.
So I don't know. There's some cool stuff in here. He can wah again. The zap itself is a 36-inch strength 10 AP2 Melta. The number 3 roll, which is crazy. That's probably the strongest anti-tank weapon in the game that I can think of.
If you manage to roll it at the right time when there's a tank in range.
You just pick up a freaking Land Raider. I'm at half range because I'm within 18 inches. Okay, now Melta happens, so I'm 2d6 strength 10 pen.
Amazing.
That's you're basically an 18-inch range Carnifex or something.
And talking again about trying to just kill power armor, this is one of the other options here is the Frazzle number 2. You get AP3, it's blast, pinning, and hits automatically, which again overcomes the horrible ballistic skill of the Orks. But you have to roll that at the right time, and you might just never roll a 2.
And you might roll a 1, which is where you center that on yourself.
Right.
And potentially hurt you, most likely hurt you, and kill maybe some of your friends that you're probably scattered about with. So
Here We Go can just teleport him and his unit anywhere on the battlefield like Deep Strike, which could be really good.
Yeah.
But maybe they were where you really needed them.
Right.
And now they're not.
And they can just leave melee too, which is fun.
Great.
It's just like, they just stay in place. The enemy doesn't even consolidate. They're just like, what just happened? Yeah.
So again, very chaotic. And I think if you're leaning into just the chaos of what can happen with an orc army, this is a very fun choice to take just to see what happens. But I think it's by no means the most optimized of your 2 HQ choices.
If things work out and you get like a warpath at the right time or a WAAAAAAAGH at the right time, this guy could just win the game, but he could also just like
kill himself
and not help you at all and hurt your game.
Beast,
So he's fine. I much prefer the other 2 HQ choices if you're going for like an efficiency and power level standard, but he's not so expensive that I'd be like, as a secondary lord.
Yeah.
And he's fine.
You also have to take a psychic test, we should point out. You don't just get to roll the D6 and do a power. You have to have passed the psychic test.
But if he's in a mob, though...
That's true. He has the same mob rule leadership thing.
So if he's in a big mob, he basically auto-passes.
That's true.
That's the thing. So he's got to be around his mates.
Yeah, and it does specify that. So that helps. And again, very orky because they draw their
power
psychic energy from
each other.
The mob. So very cool. But yeah, that concludes the generic HQ choices. Again, we're not going to go into all of the special named characters on this episode because it's going to be long enough as is. But if you guys want to hear that, we can talk about it in another episode. So just let us know in the comments. All right, on to elites. First up, we have knobs, which are just big orcs. They're the bigger orcs than the normal orcs, and their stats represent that.
Strength 4.
They've got, their strength goes from 3 to 4. They get an extra attack, and their initiative goes up 1, which is huge for orcs, because that means that on the charge, at least, they're hitting at the same time as Space Marines.
Yep.
And they're equivalent.
And they're strength 5 when they charge, so they're not only hitting at the same time, but they're wounding them much more often.
Yep. Their unit size does cap out at 10, and so that's a lot of other units you can take a lot more of, 15, 30, things like that. So that's something to keep in mind, but it's probably good that they do that because I think getting that huge of a mob could be a little insane.
Well, all the things we've said are big, but the biggest thing is their 2 wounds.
That's also true. Yeah, so in a big mob, that makes a big difference.
They are, against small arms fire, almost like 20 boys if you take 10 of them.
That's a really good point.
So now that does mean they have a weakness to, say, crack missiles or anti-tank weapons that can instant death them.
Mm-hmm. Which isn't, I found that to be a huge issue with things like Deathcopters, because those just are, I hate having those die instantly to crack missiles. But when you have multiple knobs, a unit of 10, it doesn't feel as bad when a couple crack missiles get through.
For sure. Go ahead.
I think these guys have a lot of the same options that you'll see throughout this. They can be turned into bikers if you want. They can take stick bombs, which are just the equivalent of frag grenades. They can take all the different weapon options, including combi weapons if you want them. I think one thing worth pointing out is the twin-linked Shuda is nice just because you get to re-roll your misses, which can help with that. But ultimately, I think you really just want to get these guys into combat, so kitting them out to do that is going to be helpful. And their standout choice, I think, is the Pain Boy. So this is an upgrade. You can upgrade a knob to a Pain Boy for 30 points, and it gives them the Feel No Pain rule, which means they all essentially have a 4-up invuln save that happens after all other saves.
It depends. If they were to be affected by instant death, they don't get it.
Correct.
Or if they're hit by a power weapon. Something that would ignore their armor and melee.
But it does keep them alive on the way in, especially against shooting, which I think is really helpful. And then if you have the Pain Boy, you can give them all cyborg bodies, which then would give them an actual invulnerable save in addition to the 4-up Feel No Pain.
So you could do a 5-up, 4-up.
Yeah. So if you really wanted a very heavily armored, very expensive knob squad, you could put heavy armor on them, give them a 4-up save. You could give them cyborg bodies with the Pain Boy, get a 5-up invuln, and then still get the 4-up Feel No Pain. And a lot fewer of them would die that way. But that being said, all it takes, like you said, is a crack missile, and none of that matters. But
so your mileage may vary. What I would say is depending on your meta, you might not see a lot of crack missiles. Right now, I feel like we're in a meta where we don't see like las cannons. really much.
Yeah.
Like occasionally people will take like an Annihilator Pred, but that's about it.
Yeah.
That I usually see. So, but we'll see missile launchers. But for me, I mean, these guys can go in a million different directions. You can give them heavy armor if you just want 4-ups, slightly more tanky guys. They can do combi weapons. You can give them all power claws, which is incredibly expensive. I wouldn't do that. I'd maybe give one a power claw.
Give it to the knob.
Yeah, or one of them. But
they are all.
They're all
knob.
Yeah, you can give them all power claws, so you can have a unit of all power claws if you wanted to.
Right. Yeah.
But,
I was just thinking there was an upgrade
to
like a big knob, but that's not. I guess the pain boy. They're just all the knob.
Yeah. The big thing for me, I think the if you wanted the powerful choice would be the bikers. You go up to toughness 5. Now you're not helping yourself against those crack missiles necessarily, but just for existing, you're getting a cover save all the time because they have like smoke cloud. Yeah. So not only are you faster, tankier against small arms fire, and heavy arms fire because you're getting a cover save all the time. Also, they get DACA guns on the bikes, and DACA guns are just better shootas. They're strength 5 shootas with 3 shots, and they're assault weapons. So you drive up, unload. Sure, you're only going to theoretically hit 1 on average per guy, but it's a strength 5 shot. You might pick up some blokes, and then you charge in with a bunch of knobs that are going to have 4 attacks each on the charge, and that's terrifying. Now, that's 45 points per bloke, so we're talking Terminator costs, but for my money...
I think the speed is what makes all the difference, because, again, this whole army needs to get to grips with the enemy because they're so bad at shooting, and so anything that does that faster is really helpful. So I think really... leaning into the speed freak side of things makes this a very powerful army when you can just cross the field quickly. So doing things like getting the knob bikers, war boss on a bike, things like that, putting all your guys in vehicles, taking all the cool vehicle options can really make a powerful force just because of the speed element, since it gets you to the enemy quicker.
You really got to kind of pick your lane, because you're paying over double per boy to do that. And
they could just die to instant death.
Indeed. So you could make the argument definitely that I could literally have 2 knobs for every knob biker, to which I would go, fair. So I could definitely see if you were just like, I want to take them really cheap, I want to go lean, and I want bodies. Yeah. For me, it's just like, do you want to paint all that? And if you do, bang-a-rang.
I don't know. I might paint 2 infantry models to a whole bike with a guy on it.
That's
feels
fair.
Like more to paint, honestly.
You're probably right. You know what? You're probably right.
I guess it depends on the approach you're using.
Yeah, but that's a great point, actually. But I think, again, if you really lean into just Green Tide, I think naked knobs are totally acceptable. The
fact that you could take, like you said, 2 units of them for the same point, less points, really. You could take them for the same points with heavy armor then.
Yeah.
And that way, I think the... overwhelming the enemy with targets approach also does work, because that helps some of your boys still get there quicker.
Base, they have Slugga Choppa.
Not quicker, but alive.
So on the charge, they have 5 attacks per guy.
Yeah.
Which is kind of insane, actually, when you say it out loud.
And you would expect that even Space Marines with a 3-up save will fail some of them. Although other times you roll 12 wounds and they don't fail a single 2-up Terminator save.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, Terminators.
Not that specific thing happened to me a week ago or anything.
But theoretically, these should pick up units. And
they often do.
Through weight of attacks. And again, because base, Slugga Choppa with Furious Charge, if they get in, they're swinging at the same time as Marines, so they're not going to lose attacks. They should hit on 4. So, I mean, let's pretend, and because they're kind of a smaller unit, you're probably going to get more of them in. So you might actually get more attacks maybe than a giant orc mob because of the 2-inch thing. So you might even get more rough attacks, and they're of higher quality. So you should get just a lot of wounds through. And if these guys go into something that isn't a Space Marine or a Marine equivalent,
over it.
They're just, I don't know, like... You go into an Eldar unit with a 4-up armor save. Sure, they got good weapon skill and initiative, so they might swing first. But frankly, they're tough 3, so the orc laughs.
Yeah, and they won't have as many attacks.
So then you just go ha 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 as they wound a couple knobs, maybe pull 1 down, and then you proceed to unleash 50 attacks at strength 5 and
the key
annihilate
is just,
them.
you got to still be alive when you get there. So I think that's the case for most of the things in this list. Is they will kill anything they reach. You just got to get them there.
Sure. Oh, and I just realized Mega Knobs is actually a separate option. It's not just an upgrade choice. Interesting. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll jump into that. Unless you wanted to talk about the Battle Wagon as a dedicated transport. Because that I thought was interesting if you wanted to spam battle wagons.
Yeah, it's another way to get an extra run without using a heavy support choice, which I think is really interesting, and is the main heavy armor choice for Orks. It's the only thing with armor 14 frontal. Right. Very powerful, very customizable as well in terms of upgrades and weapon options that you can give it. Although it's worth noting you can't take the kill cannon upgrade because that eliminates the transport capacity, so that wouldn't be able to be a dedicated transport. But in terms of talking about how to keep your boys alive until they get to the enemy, that's a great one. You kind of have to decide, am I going to keep it open topped so that I can charge out of it, or keep it safer by putting an ARD case on it? Tough to decide, but I think either can be a viable option, just depending on whether you feel a little more cagey or feel a little more aggressive.
Yeah. I have no further thoughts, but yeah, I think knobs are actually excellent. I think they're totally playable.
Absolutely, yeah, they're a great choice.
What do you think about Mega Knobs?
I think Mega Knobs are super cool. I think they're almost equivalent to Terminators, but they don't get the 5-up invulnerable save.
Yeah.
And then they also get the slow and purposeful when they take that, which Terminators don't have.
And again, 2 wounds.
Yeah, 2 wounds. Big difference, unless, of course, you're getting instant death.
Correct.
Which, I don't know, again, maybe it's our meta, but happens to me a lot.
Fair enough. Yeah, you got to deal with the las cannons of these guys. Is anything AP2, strength 8 or higher. So
yeah, crack missiles, las cannons.
Well, crack missiles are only AP3. So theoretically...
Oh, that's true. You'd still get a save against it.
Yeah,
but if it gets through, you're still dead.
You're correct. I think what happened last time, if I remember correctly, is I was like, hey, you still get a save. And you were like, oh, yeah. And then you rolled and you got like ones. And I was like, oh.
Typical. But yeah, anyways, I think they're one of my favorite models in the Ork range. They just look hilarious because they're so boxy, and you know, I just love especially the older models. I don't know what the newer ones look like now, but the older ones that were just like really blocky are just really cool looking. So yeah, I like these. I think that the fact that they come when you upgrade, well, you're not even upgrading them because with this unit they just come with it. They have the power claw, they have the twin linked Shuda built in is just cool. The fact that you can upgrade it to get a Scorcha, I think, is a really good option because you're trying to get in close, do some flaming on your way in.
Yeah,
is really cool. I don't feel great about the rocket launcher just with the BS2.
I agree.
You only get one shot at it, and it's probably going to miss. But yeah, it's really cool. Cool models. I think cool vibe. The slow and purposeful can really hurt though, so the battle wagon upgrade for them maybe is a good idea.
Probably require a transport.
Yeah, you can also put them in just a truck if you want, which is also an option if you want cheaper transportation. But yeah, trying to overcome that slow and purposeful, I think, is the key thing that you want to do with these guys.
For sure. Yeah, I don't have any further thoughts. I think they're fine. I think the fact that they all have power claws is kind of the big unique thing here. You can do that for the knobs already, but then they cost more than Mega Knobs. Actually,
kind of wild.
Well, I think the big thing is they're faster.
That's true.
But they don't have any of the defense.
Right.
So
because they started a 6-up save unless you're giving them heavy armor.
So for me, if you're taking normal knobs, you're either going bikers or you're going like
numbers.
And if you want power claws, lots of power claws, you go Mega Knobs and put them in a truck or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Burna Boys. You've been talking about Burna Boys lately.
I think, again, this is just me thinking about how do I kill power armored stuff. Okay. The cool thing about these guys that separates them from other flame-based units and other armies is that their Burnas can count as a flame template weapon shooting, but also as power weapons in close combat.
But not in the same turn.
Right, so you can't flame everybody and then charge in. You still can, you just can't use it
as a
power
weapon.
They gotta have time to flip the switch on the Burna, presumably. But still very powerful, I think, because getting a whole unit of power weapon guys for 15 points a model is pretty good. Again, if you can keep them alive to get them in there. You can add mechs in here, which is kind of cool, and they come with the custom Mega Blasta. I think it's, because they have more or less the same stat line, but then just swap out the Burna for the custom Mega Blasta.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty good weapon. I'm just flipping over here to see what those stats are specifically. 24 inches, strength 8, AP 2, assault 1, gets hot. So pretty much like an assault plasma gun. So that can be
higher
helpful.
Strength, actually.
Yeah, and so if you take a couple mechs, shoot those on your way in when you're about to charge, and then save your Burnas for the power weapons. And I think that this could be a really good squad against a heavy marine equivalent meta. So I just got some STLs during the Black Friday sales last week, so we'll see if I get those printed and painted up here to try them out. But what are your thoughts on them?
Things that jump out at me, I don't see a dedicated transport option. That makes me sad, unless I'm missing that. So you gotta
buy it somewhere else.
You gotta buy it somewhere else. Yeah. I don't think you can give them a truck then.
No, because trucks are only dedicated transport.
So that kind of stinks because they're short range inherently, I guess, except for the custom Mega Blasta. Right. So that seems a negative, and you can't give them heavy armor, so they're gonna die on the way in. So
yeah, unless you put them in a battle wagon. A heavy support option.
So those are the things. Those are my negatives that I see, and they're 15 points a guy. What I will say to your point is also it's nice that if you just want a lot of flamers, it's nice to just have a squad of all flamers and not be susceptible to the Space Marine / Imperial thing where you have special weapons that don't always synergize together.
True. And that's the whole Ork Codex is special weapons always come in squads of just that weapon.
For sure. Similar to Eldar, where it's all these guys, these aspect warriors, they all have the same stuff. And so you just kind of, what is their role? They're going to do X. Yeah. That is their goal. And I think because they have flamers or power weapons, they could be good against hordes too. So
because it's kind of either or. Yeah. It's going to be good. So and again, overcomes the ballistic skill problem.
Yep.
Because flamer templates hit automatically. For sure. So very cool. But yeah, I do agree. That's a good point about the lack of armor and lack of dedicated transport options, which I think is true of most of these elite choices. That are similar, where there's the Burna Boys, Tank Bustas, Ludas, Commandos, all of those guys being sort of the different special weapons options. I don't think any of them have the dedicated transports. Yeah,
they kind of are, and I think it hurts the Burnas the most.
Right, because they're the ones with the closer
unfortunately for the Burnas. But that doesn't mean I think they're bad or anything. I just think
because there are other ways to get them in. There's the custom force field, there's the battle wagon, there's the just walk them in behind a truck,
walk them behind a horde of 30 Slugger Boys.
Well, that doesn't matter.
I guess in fourth you just shoot them, but fair enough. Maybe they have to take the targeting priority check that they have.
But the Space Marines will pass
90% chance to pass. Yeah. Okay, but no, I think they're fine. Maybe not as efficient as just more boys, because you're paying 2.5 boys for one Burna boy.
That is true.
But
they're also cool models, are great. So I'm going to take them. They look cool.
Well, you're going to have a game sometime where you're I don't know, we got a lot of prospective Tyranid guys now. These guys, I think if I'm playing Nids, and maybe it depends how you're playing Nids, because again, Nids is pretty diverse as well. But I really love the tons of Griblies versus let's have
monsters
10 just giant ones against the tons of Griblies with lots of gaunts and stuff, or even Gene Stealers. I'm not excited to see a squad full of Burnas. So, but yeah, okay. I won't further belabor rather. Tank Bustas, same cost as Burnas. This is a theme, as you kind of noted, with these elite choices.
Yeah.
And rather than having Burnas, they have rocket launches,
and Tank Busta bombs.
And Tank Busta bombs. Are those better crack?
I think they're melt-a-bombs.
Okay. Yeah, they do 2d6, but they're strength 6, right? I think. You can
something
look it up.
That. Yeah,
but they have a rocket launcher, which is, I believe, and it's launcha, not launcher. And
2d6 plus 6 are the Tank Busta bombs.
So it's like a melt-a-crack grenade, which is interesting. But it's a 24-inch assault missile launcher with crack only. Honestly,
which is another thing worth pointing out, is that all of the Ork weaponry is assault weapons, which
so you
is
just
great.
Run towards them.
It really helps the fact, again, with the low ballistic skill, that they can still shoot that one last time and charge. They can be shooting the whole time they're running up. So you're getting a pretty high volume of shots out typically. But for things like rocket launches that are only getting one shot, you start to feel that ballistic skill too a lot more. But it is nice that they're not heavy weapons and slowing you down anyways, because they can still be running in to get closer as you go.
They do have this rule called Glory Hogs, which forces them to attack vehicles in range.
Yes, because they love seeing them blow up.
Which is respectable, but I just want to note that, because they do have a bunch of Strength 8 AP3 guns. So
which would be good
sometimes
against Space Marines.
you might want to shoot the mech, but they might shoot the Rhino behind it.
Yeah.
That they came out of, and that might be less helpful at times. So that's something to keep in mind. But honestly, I think they're fine. I kind of prefer them to Byrnas in a mech environment, but I might be more shooty guy. They are a little more versatile in that they can threaten vehicles. So if you see a Dreadnought, you see a blank.
Yeah, and
these
I think
guys
a lot
can pick it up.
of stuff, doesn't in the Ork army. So I think this is one of the specific. Obviously, it's in their name.
Yeah.
But is necessary if you're going up against a lot of armor.
Yeah.
But man, it's just so hard for me to take something that relies on shooting with ballistic skill too.
I hear
just
you.
Never score hits. It feels like.
I guess for me, it's like, let's pretend we have 12 and we can't put them in a truck, but let's pretend we have 12 or 10 or something just to try and get some kind of mob rule benefit.
Sure.
And you think, okay, I'm going to hit with 33% of these. So if they just shot, and let's just pretend I get 3 crack missile hits a turn, what can I do with that? What can I threaten with that? I might be able to hopefully at least stun or pen, maybe if I get a little bit higher roll on one of them on a Dreadnought or Armor 12 vehicle or something, somewhat consistently. They might pay for themselves fairly quickly at that rate, because 10 of them's 150 points.
Yeah.
You think most vehicles are, if they're like a medium-sized, good, more than just a transport, they're around that cost-ish, approaching that. So they're okay. It's fun too. I'll note they have they can take those tank hammers I mentioned for free
upgrade,
but they lose their rocket launcher. So I don't know how good that is. However, I don't know if you want to put some in, put 15 of them in that battle wagon. I would totally give them 2 rocket launchers, and then they run out, and then they assault with strength 10. Those 2 guys, which is just stupid, but I love it. And they have bomb squigs, which are like weird. They just auto hit. They release them. You have to pay 5 points for them, but it's like within 18 inches. They're like, go get them, and it runs
it's not
out.
Auto, it's on a 2+.
Oh, sorry.
On a 1, they run straight into the nearest friendly vehicle.
But okay, you're right. But theoretically, incredibly accurate for
compared
orks.
to other orc
so
weaponry,
they could just like throw a squig out there to do an equivalent of a crack missile hit. So that's kind of a cool option. I like them.
And they can take up to 3 of them, and they're only 5 points a model.
Yeah, they're not
pretty
that bad. And you can give one a power claw, although with this unit I would not. Heavy armor might be worth it.
I would just take the tank hammer. Wouldn't that be...
That's a tank armor 10. Does not ignore armor.
Oh, okay. So it's just strength 10.
It's just strength
good
10.
For vehicles, but not good against armor saves.
Yeah. So, but you can just instant death another enemy war boss randomly if you wanted to. Yeah.
Hit him in the head with a missile.
Hit him in the head with a missile. And then
again, super cool models. I feel like I'm just going to say this for most of these things, but like when you see a model with a tank hammer, it's just hilarious.
It is. Yeah. It goes all the way around from stupid back to awesome.
Yeah.
Next unit is actually my favorite unit in the book, so I'm going to jump here.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump in front of you. Ludas are perfection.
Go on.
You might not like them because they're a shooty orc unit. And these guys lean in, though. They go DACA.
Yeah.
These are the DACA orcs. And I love a good DACA orc. So they are just boys, right? So that orc stat line. But notably, they're 15 points a model. Again, they have the def gun. And this is an assault cannon. This is basically, an autocannon, pardon me. It's a strength 7 AP 4 gun, but it's D3 shots.
Yeah, and notably heavy, unlike most other
which is fine
weaponry.
Because they're 48-inch range.
Yep.
So these are like you put them in the back or whatever. But what's crazy about these guys to me is every single guy's got one. Space Marines or Guard or whatever, they don't get that many heavy weapons per squad like this. You can have 15 of these guys, and if you roll on average, that's 30 autocannon shots. I know they hit on 5s, but I'm going to say it again. That
should
30
be 10 hits.
That's 30 autocannon shots. And my Chaos Space Marines that have a squad with 2 autocannons in it, they get like 3 hits. 3 hits, right? Out of 4, like on average. And that happens all the time. These guys will get 10.
Yeah.
Or if they roll high.
I think a lot of it then comes down to who you're shooting at.
Right.
Because against Space Marines, they then will save most of those on
honestly,
their 3-up saves.
I think they're scared, though. Straight up. No, I shoot these at Marines 100%. Here's why. You get 10, you're going to wound. They're strength 7. You're wounded on 2s. You're going to make them take like 8 wounds. You pick up 1 or 2 Marines, and each Marine that dies pays for the def gun guy, and they're not going to be able to shoot back because you're so far away.
That is
so
true.
You sit them in cover.
Yeah.
These are your Overwatch, like, in strength 7 also high enough to threaten light and mid-sized vehicles.
True. Yeah.
So these will pick up rhinos through weight of fire because you're going to hit with, again, and let's pretend you roll a 3 on your D3. Now we're talking 45 strength 7 shots. 45 strength 7 shots. I just got to keep saying it because it's insane. Where they're actually at their worst, I think, is against really cheap garbage guys sitting in cover. Mm-hmm. So guardsmen in cover, you're just not picking up the enough of each guy you pick up isn't that much points or whatever. But against Marines, every guy that dies is going to be like it's paying for the dude who just shot at him instantly. So, and if they botch one roll, and you're going to get a lot of wounds, you should get a lot of wounds because again. You should. Statistically, you're going to get a lot of wounds.
You could roll really low on that heavy D3. You could
now,
roll a lot of 1 through 4.
I acknowledge this 100%, but throughout a game, we'll say you do double.
Should average out.
You should do about double on average, right? So, but if you take 10, so that's going to be 20 shots a turn. That just... I feel like if I could take this unit in like my chaos list or whatever, and I was playing to win, I would take them every single time because that is... terrifying level of firepower, even at their inaccuracy. Will there be turns where you roll a 1 on number of shots and then miss with 80%? 100%. But I would imagine that is countered out by the turns where you roll a 3 and then roll above average on your to hit roll and just pick up attack squad. Just it's gone.
It is possible.
And I think Ludas are tremendous value. So I don't know. What do you think? When I was playing them on Vassal, they were always in my list.
Well, I guess I got to take them and try them then.
Oh, okay.
I think And
you can give them mechs with custom Mega Blasters.
That is also worth pointing out. So another unit that you can, for free, upgrade to the Ludas, 3 of the Ludas to mechs, and then give them some
So you got AP2 options too, so if you are worried about those mechs... Oh, they're so good. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you make a compelling argument.
Okay.
So I think it's worth trying. I think I just get scared off by things like, it's
that are
AP4,
random.
and it's just not going to punch through armor. And it just feels like I keep getting shot by stuff that punches through my armor and don't roll saves.
I hear you.
And so that in my brain makes me just think about, I have to find things that do that when that's not actually the case.
For me, it's all about... With the Orks, it's you want them to, and I know you just explained, I made him take 12 rolls and he failed, or he passed all. For me, it's like, I guess I see sometimes the other side of that, where it's like, literally, I played against a Terminator guy that same week.
Yeah.
And I just shot him with autocannons, and he was taking 2 up saves, but there was one turn, he just rolled double once, and 2 Terminators just died from autocannons.
And when that happens, it's equally as devastating as it was for me to have him pass all
in
12.
Reverse. So, and that player just went, and he's thinking autocannons are so nuts. And I'm like, And then I'm thinking, maybe I wasn't in the moment. Imagine if I had 15 of them that could all shoot even more.
Yeah. I think it's more just my own perspective and needing to shift on how things work. And I think I bring often an all or nothing approach to some of these choices. And so again, like seeing that it's like, it's only AP4, what's even the point, when that obviously isn't the whole equation. And so I think, I think this is helpful for me just to think through, opening my mind about how to think more broadly about how a lot of these things work. But
think about Eldar. Think about any non-Marine army against these guys. What?
Yeah, because they are only AP or only armor
on a lot of them. So it's like guard. You cannot leave cover.
Yeah, it's getting cut to pieces.
It's just dead.
Yeah, well, I mean that's true for guard against almost anyone.
Indeed, true. But like, let's say they drive out in a Chimera. These could threaten Chimera. I'm going to talk too much, but these guys are just...
well, I guess I got to take some and try
I'm a big Luda fan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sold. I think that's great. But yeah, I think that this is just, this whole discussion here is just really helpful to keep in mind that you shouldn't, like I am, get fixated on specific elements of me thinking like, it's ballistic skill 2, so nothing will ever hit, so why even bother? Because you're right that on average, statistically over time, you will be averaging out enough if you're taking things that get enough shots, et cetera, that things will get through. And I think whatever in my brain, I just end up getting enough 3-up saves get passed and nothing happens, see enough of my 5-up hits fail to hit, and it just feels like I'm spending all these points to get something that on the battlefield feels like it doesn't end up doing anything. But that's all just these feelings that I think we've talked about this when you're rolling dice.
Yeah.
And if you see a couple 6s first, you're like, wow, it's an amazing roll. If you see a couple 1s first, you're like, oh, this is the worst roll I've ever had. And then when you count it up, it's almost always average. And so I think it's those bad moments that stick in my brain and then just make me think that like, oh, this is how it always is, when that's not actually the case. And so, yeah, I think this whole discussion is just helpful for me and just reminding me not to get overly fixated on the individual moments where something happens that goes really statistically sideways, and then that now defines how I think about how a particular option is going to work.
Worth noting, I think Ludas are a hard example because if you look at them in isolation, no other orc unit works like this. I think they might. Do they have like other than like the shock attack gun? I think they might have like the longest range in the army. Yeah, they do. So, and maybe not counting certain ordnance weapons. I don't know. I didn't look at those, but I think it's really easy to be like, they're running in. I mean, well, if they're heavy, but you know what I mean? Like, oh, all the orc guns, you're running in, you're just trying to get to melee. These guys don't function like that.
Because they're a heavy weapon. They have a long range. They can sit
in an
back.
ideal situation, they're not even getting shot at. I know I deploy Chaos Havocs a lot of the time. They don't even get attacked because they're so far back, and I'm leveraging that 48-inch range. So I just think of these as like, these are my anchor. And then I also have a horde of boys running ahead of me because they're that cheap. But these guys, as
they're the ones that are softening up the enemy, not the shooters. Yeah.
Correct. So I think they just have a lot of synergy there, and it's maybe hard to wrap your mind around that without seeing it happen, because you're looking at it and you're like, oh, I'll just roll a 1 and then I'll miss everything. And it's like, oh yeah, fair enough. And that will probably happen eventually. You know, I mean, it will.
It's bound to, yeah. So, but like you said, statistically, they should be good.
Statistically, though, I think they on average do well for their cost.
Yeah, and again, that's really helpful. I think that's why these discussions are useful, because at least for me, I learn a lot talking through these things with you. So.
Well, there we go. What do you think about?
It's important that I don't go just off vibes. I mostly just go off vibes.
Okay, well,
that gets me in all sorts
of
trouble.
I'm a Luda viber. Literally, this is my favorite unit in the book.
Yeah, that
says a lot about me. I like the heavy weapon spam gunshot guy.
Yeah, I can tell with your obliterators.
Yes,
these are just not doing Iron Warriors.
This is thank goodness. These are the orc equivalent, probably.
But anyways, enough said about Ludas, but I think I'm convinced I got to take a unit. Next up is Commandos. They are the cheapest of the elite options at only 10 points per model, and again, just have the normal boy profile as their base. They can upgrade to knobs rather than mechs, which is different than the Ludas, but similar to the Tank Bustas. And I think their big thing is they get moved through cover and infiltrate.
That's really it.
These guys can get closer, which with Orks is great. So I think that this is a really good option to just get some orc boys in behind enemy lines where they can get that charge sooner, even if it's positioning them in a spot where they're maybe going to bide their time until turn 2 when you trigger the WAAAAAAAGH, and then that gets them that extra movement. They're moving through cover, so they could start on the opposite side of some area terrain that the enemy can't see through, and then they can just plow through it the next turn. And I think that can help deal with things that are otherwise hard to get to grips with, like you're saying, Havoc squads, things that are sitting back, units that are taking advantage of cover, things like that.
Sure. Yeah, I think they're good. I think their biggest thing is basically exactly what you said. They're just boys, but you pay 2 points for infiltrate and you pay 2 points for move through cover. Almost everything else is the same. They do lose a special weapon option. They can only take up to 2 per squad versus 3.
One of those can be a Burna, which is not an option on regular boys.
Fair enough.
They are very expensive at 15 points.
Yeah, that seems like a lot.
Since you're starting closer to the enemy...
Yeah, I don't know.
I think certain armies that would be very good against.
Indeed. And then the other big thing is you can only take up to 15, which kind of makes me sad. They also don't have like heavy armor options, but that makes sense to me for commandos. For me, I would only take them in big squads of 15 because you got to leverage mob rule.
You don't want them to just get shot apart before they get there.
And I just take them with a knob and a power claw, and I don't do anything super exciting. They do, again, have stick bombs built in, so that's nice. So like you're saying, they can assault somebody in cover.
Yeah, help get them out.
If they do get in, I mean, there's still orcs in melee, so you're going to drop 40 dice of attacks, and the knob is going to pick up 2 guys himself with his power claw.
Yeah.
and they're going to wipe guys. So they're fine. I think their biggest saving grace is they're actually not that expensive. 10 points per guy is not that much, especially because depending on the terrain, infiltrate can be a significant advancement up on the battlefield. And if they are deployed in such a way to where they need to move to even get to see you,
especially if there's cover in the way that they can't move through without rolling.
Exactly. Yeah. So they can definitely pose some good questions. I think they're totally worth it. I don't know much about Snickrot. I'd be curious to see how he changes things. I note that he gives them leadership 8 too, which stands out to me. But I guess if you have the big enough mob, hopefully you don't care. But again, at 15,
can, get small quick.
That can get small quick with 15 only. That's the thing. Once you have 20 or 30, you're like, okay, I can take like 2 rounds of shooting before I care. But at 15, you're like, maybe it's like a 1.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay.
Yeah, very cool. I do have some STLs for those guys, and I'm planning on putting a unit together. But I found them; they're really cool. They are dressed sort of like World War II British Special Forces, where they have like black beanies, and that kind of a thing.
I like it.
Or just
do they have mustaches?
I don't think they have mustaches.
Oh, that's too bad. Okay. What do you think about the almighty Ork boy for 6 points a model?
Insane how efficient they are for their points.
Yep.
And you just can take so many of them with a 30 cap on the unit size. I can't imagine doing an army of orcs without taking some Ork boys.
Okay. I am in
you kind of have
agreement.
to because there's not really a lot of troop choices.
True. But which makes sense. You got to have some Ork boys in your Ork army. But yeah, I'll just echo that. They're very versatile. You can go for Ard boys with 4-up armor. I don't necessarily think that's worth it a lot of the time.
It's really expensive as an upgrade on these guys, and I think that there's enough AP4 stuff out there that, it's just not.
I would rather have more orcs.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost another whole orc.
You're increasing from 6 points per model to 10.
Yeah.
In maybe certain small points games where there won't be a lot of special weapons, maybe that's more worth it. I don't know.
That could be.
But at that point, maybe spend those points on like what we just talked about with the commandos or something, right?
Sure.
Get them further up the board. But for me, they're versatile. You can throw them in trucks. You mentioned they can only go in 12 at that point, so mob rule less good. But when we talk about the truck here, we'll talk about how they're prevented in some ways from dealing with things like entanglement as badly. So that's always good.
Yeah, and I think if you're taking a smaller squad like that, the boss pull becomes much more important because then quickly that is useful. In a big squad of 30, you're only going to use it at the very end of the game, if at
maybe
all,
once.
so I don't think it's worth taking. But the boss pull essentially lets you, it's like a commissar kind of thing. You shoot an orc to try to get everybody else back in line is the idea.
Yeah.
And I think that just lets you re-roll your failed morale check.
I believe so. Yeah. 2, I always take the knob. That's going to be me, basically. If there's ever a knob choice and the knob can get a power claw, for me, I always do that because I think power claws are nuts. They're just power fists, but they're better because orcs have so many attacks. So
it's just more efficient for how many times you use it.
So a power fist is just not usually as good as a power claw on average, just because the orc body that's holding it is superior.
And since they're low initiative anyways, they don't
lose
hurt
less
as much by going last.
Yeah,
they're probably going last anyways.
You're absolutely right.
And
I
think this is a great way to take them because the orc boys protect the knob, and so the knob's not going to get killed early on.
Yep.
Although one thing worth pointing out is that if you're going up against a dedicated melee unit, the way that the rules are written is you have to remove engaged
the people
models first.
In there,
so it is possible that if your knob
killed.
got up there that he gets killed because you're not pulling models off the back. So that's something to keep in mind. But in general, that's not going to be happening if you have enough orc boys. There still should be enough to keep him safe.
And the knob's got 2 wounds.
Yeah.
So hopefully he can at least take one on the chin and then pick up a couple guys. Because what I'll see with a unit like this is you get in, you charge, the boys will pick up, I don't know. Probably it's very variable just because of how they work and they have so many attacks. So a lot of it's going to come down to what is the toughness and armor save of the opponent.
Right.
But the knob is going to very consistently against most things probably kill 2 guys. Doesn't matter what they are.
Yeah.
Maybe more if he rolls well on the to hit.
On 2s and no armor.
Yeah. So he's just adds a very consistent element to a unit that could be maybe less predictable.
Yeah.
What do you think about sluggas versus shooters?
I was going to just ask you that. I love the Shuda models. They look so cool. I built a unit of them just to have them because I like how they look. But in practice, I think it makes more sense just to take the Slugga and Choppa just because the extra attack when you get into melee ends up, for me, feeling more worthwhile than the extra shot once or twice on my way in. But yeah.
I'm the opposite. I prefer Shuda boys, but you knew that probably as I was sitting here. After
what you said about the Ludas, I had a sneaking suspicion.
Yeah, no, because they're assault weapons. I think you just get straight up more attacks. Now, are all those attacks going to be as valuable because they're at BS2 versus an extra weapon skill 4 attack?
That's my point.
With Fury. Yeah. The thing is that the Shuda is strength 4 all the time, so you don't have to worry about a strength reduction. Mm-hmm. AP6 won't come up much, but there are going to be times. But generally speaking, for me, it gives you more options. There's going to be times where you're moving up, maybe you roll low. Well, I guess if you WAD, you couldn't shoot anyway. But so really, that's going to be it. It's like, when are you using the WA? Because the WA, I think, is the big differentiator. Because if you're going to WA, then I think sluggas are probably better. But if you're just,
you won't be approaching for as long to get more of the shots.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
For me, I like the caginess of I can move up, unload 60 shots, hit with 20, cause 10 wounds on a Marine squad, make them take 10 armor saves, kill 2 or 3 statistically, and then they have to shoot back going, oh crap, I'm going to kill maybe 5, and then they're going to do it again, but this time only with 50 dice instead of 60, and then they're going to charge me afterwards. Versus maybe the Slugga boys don't even get that option. So if you want to play a little more cagey, but still terrifying, you're absolutely right. Having another 3 attacks base on a boy is crazy. But the fact that they shoot us on the charge still have 3 attacks.
It is still good, and I mean, you make a good point that the 4th attack maybe is just overkill in most situations.
It depends. It certainly depends. I think if you math it out statistically, if you get 30 Slugga boys into 10 TAC Marines, I think they kill every single one statistically to like a man. So it's because it'll be 30 boys, and this is assuming you get all of them in melee somehow, but let's pretend you do. It's going to be 120 attacks. This is no knob, of course. You hit with half, that's 60. You wound with half, that's 30. So that's 30 wounds. They fail 1/3, 10 guys die. So they've thought it all. I think I'll give it to the GW writer here. He really thought it out.
Yeah.
Right? So that's on the charge, though, with Furious Charge.
Right, and then they get much worse after that.
Right, 100%. But like Shudas can be a little bit more consistent, and I like them versus other armies better than Sluggas 2. Marines are, I know they're half the meta, but it's like against other armies, I'd rather have Shudas, I guess.
I think that's definitely true because the high strength against tough 3 is now much better.
Sluggas are a little more win more, I guess. Whereas that might not even be true because the Shudas might be more win more. The Shudas can just punish earlier. Yeah. And if you get a spiky roll on your to hit, they're still strength 4. So it's like it's the way I like to think of the Shuda is it's like you're charging from range and they can't hit you back.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then you still charge them again afterwards. So,
pretty good.
I don't know. I really like Shuda boys. If it was up to me and I was doing a list, I'd have like 60 of them. Nice. 2 squads of 30 each. Maybe put some big Shudas in there because those are assault weapons too.
Yeah, the big Shudas are nice.
Which I know you take occasionally, and they're just higher strength in 3 shots.
And for every 10, you can take 1, so you can
have
potentially get 3. And I would definitely take the big shooters over the rocket launches.
100%.
Every time I've gone up against vehicles, I always think like, I have to take rocket launches because I have to kill the vehicles, but they just never hit with 1 chance.
100%. If you're dealing with vehicles and you're a boy, you say, Mr. Knob, will you power claw that?
Yeah.
And then he goes, oh yeah, I'll go power claw that, mate. And then he goes and gets it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm pro Shuda. But Sluggas, I think, are totally acceptable. And if I'm putting a mob with like a war boss, I might just give him Slugga Choppa boys just for leaning into the whole like we are charging and we're murdering. But maybe the ones on the flanks might be Shudas. So maybe a mix.
Yeah. And I think if you're getting charged, the Slugachapa is nice because then you start getting that extra attack.
Generally,
since you're losing the charge attack and losing the Furious Charge
for sure.
Strength benefit. But again, my perspectives on a lot of this is more vibey than actual mathy or reality of how things work out.
No, you're good.
But yeah, moving on to the other, there's only 2 troop options, Ork Boys and then Gretchen. And the Gretchen are 3 points per model, making them one of the cheapest options in the game, I believe.
Yeah, I can't think of much cheaper.
Yeah, they also have a 10 to 30 unit size restriction, and then 1 to 3 runt herds. You have to take a runt herd for every 10 Gretchen that you have, and so that's just an Ork with a grabby stick to keep them in line, and they're 10 points a model, so that does add to the cost, but still a very cheap unit overall. And I think the benefit here is, again, just giving more targets and at least forcing the target priority rolls if you're putting these guys out front.
Yep.
I mean, they're obviously going to die in droves with only toughness 2 and 1 wound, but and especially to blast weapons, if you're not keeping them spread out, which can be hard to do when you have so many giant units, is eventually you just have to start bunching things up around terrain and whatnot. But yeah, my perspective is they're a great unit to take just to be an extra target. And if they don't, and they do try to ignore it, and they stick around, then they can contest table quarter or run up on an objective or things like that. So I think just given their low points cost, they're a pretty decent option for a troops choice.
How does mob rule work with them? Because the runt herd has it.
I've always wondered that. I just assume it doesn't do anything because I think it just means that the runt herds themselves can exchange for their leadership for whatever it happens to be with Orks, but that would be 3 if you had the max number of runt herds, so you would just never do that.
Right.
So I think it's meaningless. I think they just included it to be completionist about, well, they are Orks, so technically they do have
I just didn't know if it's like, oh, well, you count the number of Gretchen, but I went and quick checked here. It says specifically Orks under mob rule, so it's just there because Orks have mob rule.
So if anybody listening knows how mob rule matters on a runt herd and a Gretchen unit, let us know, but I'm pretty sure it's meaningless.
I guess if they're... Yeah, no, that would never come up. I'm trying to think of how...
If you had the 3rd edition Codex version of them fleeing and rejoining an Ork unit, then there you go. But
okay, sure. Why not?
Yeah, and then they have a weird rule called It's a Grot's Life, which is a very oddly specific rule about they can clear minefields. And so you can run them through minefields, lose a random amount of grots, but then the minefield disappears and it's no longer dangerous terrain anymore. But there's not... I mean, I guess maybe we just need to use more minefields in our games, but it seems like a very specific corner casey kind of thing.
Yeah, we don't... Minefields, I feel, are hard to do in miniature wargaming in a quote-unquote balance.
Right, because the point is that you wouldn't know they're there until you blow up, but in this, you know that they're there.
Yeah,
you just
so
know
it's
they're
like,
dangerous
it'd
terrain.
have to be a very intentional, like, you have to go through this. And,
right, it's more like area denial kind of a thing.
Yeah, so...
Which I think some of the scenarios in the main rulebook have options for the defenders to place minefields and things like that, so you could potentially create bottlenecks and put minefields there, and it would be helpful, but again, it's just a very
throw the
corner
Gretchen
case
in there
scenario.
And what, it's like 3d6 just die? It's not like, oh, a couple of guys die. It's like half the squad could just explode. It's just, they just throw them in there.
Yeah.
I guess they're cheap enough that you don't care, though, because, if 10 of these guys die, it's 30
and if
points.
you need to get through that bottleneck, it's better than losing the Orks.
So that's a good way to put it. Five Gretchen are the same as 1 Marine. So it's like, these guys can just fall over in droves and you don't care.
And they're cool models.
They are.
I think they're great.
I like their big noses.
Yep. And they have Blastas, ballistic skill 3, highest ballistic skill in the army. So if they ever get a chance to get close enough to shoot them, they will hit a little bit more than their Ork brethren, but they're very weak guns, so it doesn't really matter.
They'll pick up Guard and Eldar occasionally.
Yeah, if they get close enough to do it.
Yeah. Indeed.
But that's not their point, and I think that's important to remember when taking them. That's another thing I suffer from, is just wanting my guys to not die, which this is not the army to have that perspective with.
Yeah.
And so the Gretchen, I think, are very much there to distract and to draw fire if you can. So that's I think how they're best used. But what do you think?
No, I agree 100%. I think it's fun, too. This is more of a vibe thing, I guess, going off of what you were saying. I love units that finally go down in stats. I love a strength tough 2 model. I wish Warhammer had more things like that, honestly. use the scale a little bit more.
Yeah.
I know we talked about that in the 4th Ed review where it's like a lot of things are just 4s. There's 4s all over the place. But hey, look, a 2. That's exciting.
Yeah, just shakes things up a little bit. Adds diversity.
Exactly.
Makes you have to look at the hit wound chart maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like it. Weapon skill 2 as well. But, like you mentioned, BS3, which is good in this army. So, I don't know. They're cheap. And that's really what you're paying for. They're good because they're cheap. They're a potential distraction for target priority rolls. That's really it. But they're just a cheap distraction. Would I think just a giant orc boy mob would be better most of the time? Probably, but it's a lot more expensive. 30
That's
boys are going to be, after you give them a knob and a power claw, over 200 points. How much is 30 Gretchen? 90 and then 120?
Yeah.
Total. So probably under half the cost for slightly more actual bodies. And if you think you got to shoot a bolter at every single one, like
that's
just
the thing. It's just overwhelming with targets, and I think that these help do that.
Yeah. So I think they have a role and they do it.
Yeah, and if you're not maxing out your troop selection anyways of 6 troops choices because you're taking a lot of the other cool elites and using up your points that way, or all these cool fast attack, like there's so many cool options in the other slots that I could see you using up your points and not needing all 6 slots for orc boys. Then maybe you just have a slot left and enough points left to grab a unit of Gretchen. Or you're like me and you just think they look cool, so you're taking them anyways.
Love a big schnoz. Okay, dedicated transport trucks. These are fast open-topped vehicles with armor 10 all around and BS2. I guess they can take a weapon. Do they have a shooter on here?
Yeah, they can have a big shooter.
Okay.
Or they just do.
They just have a big shooter. Not bad. Big thing here is they hold 12 guys, or you can put mega armor in them, counting as 2 each, so you could have 6 mega armored guys.
Yeah, just not bad.
And they're fast, so again, I think that's drive 24 inches. So turn 1, you probably deploy these ideally behind line of sight blocking cover, and then you zoom out 24 inches, and you don't shoot, but you don't care. And ideally, again, if you're doing this in a way that will be maximum effectiveness, you will have multiple. If you have to drive out into cover / you're presenting hopefully lots of threats very quickly. Maybe they're not all trucks, but maybe you had commandos you infiltrated. Maybe you had blah 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 blah. Right, but you're getting in their face, and then like turn 2, you drive up 12, unload orcs. It's open topped. They charge.
They assault. Yeah, straight out of the front.
Yeah. So bad times.
And even if they die, there's giant mobs of 30 orcs behind the trucks that now didn't get shot at because you were shooting at the truck. So,
indeed. And sometimes too they have the special rule ramshackle, which is if they suffer a vehicle destroyed or explode result, instead you roll on a ramshackle chart, which has 3 effects, 1 or 2, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. The first one is called Kaboom, and it just explodes. All passengers and models within D6 take a strength 3 hit, which for orcs isn't bad because they're tough 4.
Yeah,
that's actually less bad than the normal chart. So this is just straight up better, which is good because otherwise orcs would really stink because they have really bad armor saves, which is really like the only savior you have against the current vehicle chart. And then it says surviving passengers must disembark and take a pinning test, so you don't just get pinned. You get a test, and guess what? You're mobbing up most of the time. So I don't know. You have it explode. Your guys take a strength 3 hit. You're probably like high. Leadership 10 or 9. You're probably gonna pass. And you might have a boss pull, so you might get a reroll. Like you're probably fine, and that's 1 or 2. Number 3 or 4 is careen, which is you move the truck 3d6 as far as possible in a scattered direction, then apply kaboom, which is fun.
Yeah, I love that one.
And then crunch, which is something vital gives, but the orc passengers bail out before it falls apart, and they take no damage, but just disembark.
And it's just a wreck.
So it's a wreck. No downsides. So if that happens, that's just like, other armies wish they had this, actually.
But yeah, that careen option is just so fun. I mean, it feels a lot like a giant tipping over in fantasy where it's just you never know what's going to happen. But a couple games ago in our campaign, I had a truck that had my Mega Knobs and Mech Boy in it get the careen result as it was speeding towards a predator, and it careened, but went still a little bit towards, and so then crashed, exploded. I think I lost maybe 1 wound on a Mega Knob, but then they all hopped out, and now we're right next to the predator, so we're close enough to charge the next turn.
Right.
So it was just, ton of fun.
Bye. Yeah, there you go.
And it's just cinematic,
The
truck's just driving at a predator, it's shooting, it blows up, and they're like, yeah, we got it. And then it crashes, and then, oh no, they're still alive. They're coming for us.
They're very like Mad Maxy.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I can hear the Fury Road soundtrack. And then they just boom, and then they all just get up. And then they run at it. Okay.
Yeah. And you can put all the normal vehicle upgrade options on there. I think a lot of them I wouldn't really bother with.
I kind of feel that way about a lot of the vehicle upgrades. Very situational. But
red paint job maybe because it's an extra inch of movement and it's only 5 points.
Why not?
That's not bad.
That could matter because then you could drive up 13 and unload 2 inches. Now you've got a slightly 1 inch longer threat range. I don't know. Might matter.
Just make sure that you're that much more likely to actually make the charge. Right?
Yep.
Charge. Yeah.
And not much more expensive. Only 35 base, which is kind of par for the course at end of 4th ed. Beginning of 4th ed, though, a lot of transports for 50 points. Like this, so or Rhino equivalents, etc. So a bargain comparatively.
I mean, it also is only armored 10 all around. With
this is absolutely
too, so.
true. Yes. Okay, that's kind of the troops and dedicated transports. What do you think about Storm Boys? But before you go too deep, I read the Rocket Pack rule in getting prepared for this, and I'm not sure I understood it correctly.
It sounds too good the way that it makes sense to me.
Does you had the same thought then?
Because it seems like you go 12 and then an extra D6,
correct.
Right?
Yeah, that's how I read it.
Mm-hmm. At the cost of maybe a guy dying.
Maybe. Yeah, like 1 out of 6, one guy dies. Mm-hmm. I'm like, these guys seem crazy fast, right?
Which, again, as we've said, is kind of the rule for the army is get in fast. So if that's how that works, which, again, that's how I read it.
That's how I'm reading it, too. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
They're super fast, because they could potentially go 18 inches. On average, they're going 15 inches and then charge 6.
Or they could go 18, and then charge 6.
Yeah. That is also true. So, I think these guys, another really cool model that...
wait, they don't have the WA special rule.
Oh,
does that
interesting.
mean they can't WA?
Maybe that's why. So they kind of have a built-in WA every turn.
Okay. I don't know if that matters. I assume it does.
What do you mean if it matters?
Because the rule is listed as WA under all the other ones, but not here specifically. I wonder if that was just like missed or something.
I would guess that it was intentional.
You're probably right. Okay.
Because it doesn't look like... I mean, war bikers don't have it either.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Must be foot boys.
Yeah.
Because they're using a different means of transport.
Foot,
yeah.
But that's still cool, and it makes the rocket pack less crazy. But it essentially, it's like a built-in WA every turn.
Yeah.
They kind of just have fleet with a slight downside of the on a 1 somebody blows up. But very cool. I mean, I just love the idea of it. Let's just strap a rocket to our back and see where it takes us, and hopefully it's towards the enemy, and that's just really cool. These are another one. I've got STLs waiting to be printed to add to my army, but I think once again, it's hard for me to focus in my army because I just think so many models look cool. So I end up with small squads of a bunch of different guys. That
a lot of units in this
together.
book are just like, oh, this is awesome. Yeah. Oh, that sounds so crazy and good. Yeah. No.
And you can take 20 of them. So
excellent.
Yeah. I mean, I like these guys a lot. They come with stick bombs built in, which is really cool.
Yeah. I take them. And they're 12 points per model, so 2 boys per Storm Boy. But as you noted, you can have 20, which I think is kind of the minimum you want for a big boy mob. Mm-hmm. So they're hitting that. They're moving over double the speed of normal Ork boys every turn, and they are Slugga boys in melee. I do the exact same build I would always do. I would give him a knob, and I'd give him a power claw, and then I would proceed to charge things very quickly.
Yeah, I'm excited to build these guys.
And then they die, I guess, because you're doing a bajillion attacks. I know we won't go into Zagstruck, but I'll point him out again because I remember liking him back in the day. I guess I like Jump Troops. I don't know, I'm a Night Lord. But he's got, basically, he has like the Vulture's Claw, which is like a power claw on his leg. So he like lands on people. That's so he gets like a power claw at initiative.
Oh, okay.
So
because he's landing on him.
Yeah. So just heads up for that. I think he's a cool guy. But I think they're actually totally playable. I think back in the day, I didn't rate these guys super high. Maybe it's because I was obsessed with just points efficiency and stuff. But I don't know if I really understood how the rocket
the
pack...
extra D6 every turn to
that
up to
seems
18 inches.
pretty great. So,
I agree.
Big fan.
Next up, we have war buggies, and these can be taken as sort of two options. Or no, I'm thinking about the war tracks.
They're kind of the same thing.
You can
upgrade
so the
a
war buggy is upgradable to a war track. So it could be this like half track thing, or just this four-wheeled vehicle. Can be taken in squadrons, which again, in 4th edition, squadrons of vehicles aren't that great because it just means that the enemy can focus their fire. And so on low armor vehicles like this, especially, I think that can be dangerous. They also do a weird thing where they like slow the rest of the squad down when one gets wrecked or one gets immobilized, because you have to stay close.
Oh, really?
Or maybe you can abandon them. I'm trying to remember now. I had some issues with Imperial Guard Sentinels.
We definitely had that.
Oh, it's not
happen.
immobilized. It's where if one can't move because they're like shaken, the rest of them, I think, have to like stick around.
We can't leave them behind. Wow.
Or is that stunned? Anyways, either way.
It would be stunned, but I get you.
Yeah, so the benefit, obviously, of the squadron is if you're at a high points level and you're maxing out your force org chart, you can still take more of them for the one slot. So there's trade-offs there potentially, but being only 30 points a model, again, it's just going to be more targets to throw in there. So I've never taken these before. I don't really know. I mean, getting like the Scorcha could be cool because you can drive up fast and then flame template people, which sounds good. But what do you think?
If I'm taking them, I like them dirt cheap, and I want lots of them. But I do think, as you were kind of mentioning, I think, a lot of times there's going to be a fast attack slot open in my experience for a lot of people. Maybe not always, depends on what you're doing. But these are great point filler. If you're like, I got like 50, I got 100 points left, what do? I just take 3 of them. 3 twin link big shooters. And I don't even drive like towards them. I zoom around in the back.
Just be shooting.
And shooting.
Get those rerolls.
Yeah, your armor 10 everywhere, so it doesn't matter what way you're facing. Who cares? Just show your side.
Yeah.
And just shoot them with your big shooter. I just like them dirt cheap. I wouldn't take the rocket launcher, even though it's twin linked, because I want to keep them cheap. Twin link does help, though.
And it only plus 5 points. I mean, I think this is a way to get a more reliable way to shoot at enemy vehicles. Yeah. And since they're fast, getting around into side or rear armor is a little more possible. Mm-hmm. So that could be an interesting way to try and run them.
They remind me in a different way. I don't want to jump ahead, but I compare them a lot to Def Coptus. They do like the same thing.
But they're not susceptible to instant death.
They're not susceptible to instant death, but they kind of are because they're vehicles, if you know what I mean.
True. Yeah.
So it's like this weird thing, but if you put like a rocket launcher on them, they're both twin link rocket launcher platforms or whatever. They both have the same ballistic skill. They're both about as potentially fast, right? It's just like at what point is one better versus the other? Probably your mileage may vary, but I think it's playable just because it's so cheap. I think there's a point where you just make something so cheap that it doesn't matter how like bad it is. Like this may never do anything.
But again, it's going to draw fire away from other things.
But the fact that the big shooter is twin linked means you're probably going to hit about a 1 to 2. You should hit 1 to 2 hits every turn. You should, air quotes. And it's strength 5. So just peppering an infantry squad, you pick up a guy every so often. If you happen to get 2 Marines throughout the game, it's done. It paid for itself. If you happen to get, oh man, they rolled a 1 on their armor save in the Terminator, it's overpaid for itself. Or maybe that jump troop or whatever. I killed an assault Marine. Hey, it's paid for. So I like them just because, unlike Sentinels, unfortunately for Sentinels are cheap, but then you have to buy the gun. Right, because
they don't come with anything.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
And they're slow.
Whereas these are pretty quick, so they can be zooming 12 inches and still shooting that. Whereas the Sentinels got to plot up, and it really feels that. Here, I just zoom around to just say, okay, 9 shots. Did I hit anything? Great, woohoo! And then if they dedicate any fire to them, I would be kind of pleased in a way,
because it's not hitting other stuff that's bound to do more damage.
And because
later.
They're so cheap, you're probably going to have a lot of stuff still
besides them. And that could be something that just psychologically can put a enemy off balance if it's like, oh, they're getting around behind me or something, or even if you do put maybe a rocket on one of them or something, so that then that just psychologically feels like, oh, I can't let them get into the rear of my vehicle, and now they are focusing fire over there when they shouldn't be.
100%. Yeah, no, I think they're fine. I don't know. I wouldn't really give them any upgrades, though. I would just keep them cheap. The more expensive they get, the worse they are.
Yeah, that's fair. Next up is War Bikers. You can have up to a unit of 12 of these, and like we said, they've got the Exhaust Cloud special rule, which means they always count as having that cover save, which is pretty good, and they're just fast. They're getting guys...
4-up cover, by the way.
4-up. Oh, wow. So even better.
Yeah, it's, again, knob bikers. Whoa.
Yeah. And DACA guns on the bike, which are Strength 5, AP 4, Assault 2, so that's helpful for killing stuff on your way in. And... yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty solid. They're 25 points a model. What's your take?
Just heads up, unless I misheard you, the DACA guns are Strength 5, Assault 3.
That's not what my book says.
Oh.
DACA guns, 18 inches, Strength 5, AP 4, Assault 2.
Interesting. Mine says something very different. Look at that. We're doing this live.
Look at that.
I wonder what is the correct ruling?
If you could, would you trade the extra AP for the extra shot? So because I'm AP 4 Assault 2, you're AP 5 Assault 3. I would take the extra shot.
I would take the extra shot as an orc, 100%. Well,
interesting. I wonder who has the newer edition.
I don't
know.
The
newer print run.
We got one that's wrong, but okay, fair enough. Well, that might change my opinion on some things. I said Assault 3 earlier with the knob bikers, but War Bikers, I think, are totally good. 25 points per model, toughness 5. Notably, I think I must have the old one because I see here the War Biker is listed as having 2 wounds, which sounds incorrect to me.
Yeah, that only has 1 here.
Yeah, I think mine must be out of date then.
And only being 1 wound makes the instant death feel a lot less bad as compared to Def Coptas.
As compared to Def Coptas, as compared to the Knob Bikers too, etc. But the fact that they always have a 4-up cover is crazy. That's better cover than we usually give in most situations in 4th, to be honest, because I feel like otherwise it can be a little hard to deal with. But the fact that they just, it's so smoky. I don't know how they hit anything, but you know what?
How come the Def Coptas aren't so smoky?
Yeah, right. So they're great. Again, I just take them as is, and I put a knob in there and give them a power claw. Second verse.
And as is pretty much how you can take them. There are no upgrades available besides the knob.
I think they're totally playable. I think bikes are good in 4th, particularly, and these are some of the better bikes, to be frank with you, for their cost. Chaos bikes cost almost 10 points more than these for similar stat block, and they have better armor, of course, but I don't get a cover save all the time against instant death weapons. So
makes a huge difference.
Frankly, I think these guys are better than Chaos Bikers
for less points.
For a third,
which again is maybe the Codex creep situation sneaking in, since the Chaos Space Marine is really a 3.5, and this is kind of a 5th edition book almost. So.
Yeah, I mean, we're going from, when did this come out? 07, 08?
Something like that, yeah.
That's like 02. Right. So this is 6 years difference between the 2 books, we're thinking.
Yeah,
but
bound to happen.
It's fine.
So yeah, War Biker is good. Def Coptas, I have 3 of these from the Black Reach starter set, so I take them, but they always just die the first turn of shooting against them, and maybe again that's just because I've happened to be going up against specific enemies, but I think especially at lower points levels I really just need to take them as separate units because I have the slots to do it, and I think putting them together when they're not vehicles is the weakness for them, because then just that concentrated heavy weapon fire from a Havoc squad or obliterators or whatever is all going into all of them rather than them being able to be split up. I don't know. What do you think about them?
They have a psychological effect with me because you always take them with rockets. And the fact, again, that they're twin-linked kind of makes them feel like they're BS3. So they hit on 4s effectively-ish. Yeah. That's how it feels. And I'm always afraid of those just because AP3. So I always feel like when an opportunity presents itself, I have to target them. Being toughness 5 means they really don't care about typical small arms fire as much, and they do have a 4-up save. The problem is again, like anti-infantry dedicated weapons can kind of mulch these. Heavy bolters will do okay, autocannons will do okay, and of course the fabled assault cannons that we see a lot of will do just fine. So there's a lot of ways to deal with them.
Yeah. I think their niche is that they have hit and run.
Yeah.
You can take the buzzsaw, so you could potentially have 5 of these and be getting 3, so 15 power claw attacks on the charge with hit and run. So it could be really dangerous, but I think it's hard to keep these guys alive to get in there. Now, I mean, obviously they're fast. They can fly over terrain. They have the turbo boost thing with jet bikes. So you could try to turbo boost somewhere and hide and then just try to wait until the moment is right to position and get that charge off. But they're definitely not, I think, the easiest thing to make work.
Yeah, they are. If I was just playing shooty, I would rather just have like war buggies.
Yeah.
Because they're cheaper. But yeah, there's something to the fact that they are still an orc on that with hit and run, but you don't take them in squads big enough for the orc body like to feel like you're getting the buckets of dice that you get with all these other units. Here it's going to be like, well, I get 5 of them and they all have 3 attacks on the charge, so it's like 15 dice. Not bad, but not like outrageously crazy like you expect from this kind of army. So yeah, they're fine. I don't think they're like terrible or anything. And again, I think you talk about psychological impact. Just the fact that they've got, when you take them, strength 8, AP3 shooting makes me more worried about them than I probably should be.
Yeah, and they do draw fire. So I think, again, that's just where, I need to be thinking in terms of that means they did what I took them for, even when they just die turn 1, but also just splitting them into those 2 slots would just get me more mileage on that particular purpose of taking them.
For sure. Yeah, I don't have many other thoughts on those, though.
Yeah,
they're fine.
We've still got 6 heavy support choices to go, and we're over 2 hours right now.
We gotta,
let's get through these.
Let's do it.
The first heavy support choice is the Battle Wagon, 90 points. It's got 14 frontal armor, 12 side armor, 10 rear armor, huge transport capacity. You can take 20 models in it, which is pretty cool. So you can just stack a bunch of boys in here if you want. You can take your big unit of mega knobs, etc. And then they are just highly customizable. So you can do all sorts of different stuff with the weapons. You can do all of the different upgrades that you can get, including a kill cannon, which is sort of like a Lemon Russ battle cannon, but with a shorter range. And so that can be pretty scary, especially against things with power armor, for example. What do you think?
It's very good for its cost. Is kind of what I'm going to keep saying that over again. For armor 14 for 90 points, admittedly only in the front, but that's very cheap.
And that's all that orcs need it for, is to drive straight forward towards the enemy and disgorge all of the boys into the enemy line.
So for me, it's like the big 2 choices is like, do you want to kill cannon or do you want to transport a lot of boys? Because the kill cannon is an ordnance, I believe, AP3 gun. Mm-hmm. So, again, that's special AP3.
But it is only 24-inch range, which is, again, much shorter than a Lehman Russ battle cannon. So I think that's a trade-off, but you are obviously just trying to drive towards the enemy.
Yeah. I mean, you're still carrying 12 at that point, so you're probably still... I don't know if I would ever just take it as a weapons platform, although you could definitely do, like... Quad.
Yeah, you can load it up. You can take up to 4 big shooters / rocket launchers, although they're not twin linked, which is a bummer.
You can take a single big gun, and the kill cannon. So you could have a cannon, a kill cannon, and 4 big shooters.
Remind me, kill cannon, ordnance. That means you can't fire if you move, though, right? In this edition.
Yeah, that's true. If I remember correctly, what is the kill cannon? Ordnance 1, I
think you can't move. So.
So if you basically have to be like, if you're taking the kill cannon, okay, I'm a weapons platform. And if I'm not, okay, I'm a delivery vehicle.
So it can just be shooting,
Yeah, and frankly, as a weapons platform for the cost, it's pretty cheap as an armor 14 thing. And again, with it being BS2, the ordnance is less of a bad thing. It's basically a straight buff.
Yeah.
So, I think it's fine. There's some fun things. It's got like the... What is it? The special like death roller thing. That's fun. Working tank shocking.
Yeah,
this is like specifically good at tank shocking. You don't see that a lot. But I think it's very good, and presents a difficult skew potentially for armies that are expecting a green horde.
Yeah.
And then, I've got all these heavy bolters, and then they bring up a battle wagon and they go, my heavy bolters cannot hurt it. So,
and if you take a cheap version of it with, kind of minimize the points, you still get that armor 14, and then they're directing fire at that, and I think that's valuable in and of itself.
Even a las cannon is not at all consistently hurting this in the front. So, yeah. Very good.
Next up, we've got Def Dread, which again, you can take one of these as a troops choice if you take a Big Mech as an HQ. And this comes base with 2 Dreadnought close combat weapons. So it's kitted out to be assault oriented, but you have the option, you actually have to take 2 guns on it. So it's a 4-armed Dreadnought kind of a thing. But one of those could be even a 3rd Dreadnought close combat weapon.
You could take 4 if you want.
Oh, that's true. I guess you don't have to take, 2 different ones. Yeah. So I think this thing can be really nasty, but it is a walker, so it is kind of slow. I think is the big downside. It obviously can't be transported, and it's just going to be a bullet magnet. So I think that for me, that's the hardest thing. I guess you could walk it in behind a battle wagon to try to keep it safe, but what do you think?
You need, if you're taking Def Dreads, you got to have I'm going to say if you're playing a bigger points game, you're going to have a lot of different armor values presented, probably multiple Def Dreads. That's where if you got that Big Mech, maybe taking one as a troop slot is very valuable.
That's true. Also worth pointing out that the custom force field from the Big Mech makes vehicles count as being like hull down or whatever that is, so partially obscured. Which helps with the armor penetration.
Turning it into glances.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that, maybe take armor plates. I assume that's like turning stunned into shakens.
I believe that is what it is.
So in that case, that might be really good because you really got to be getting in.
It keeps you moving.
So I would do that. As for the 2 options that you have to take, I'd keep it cheap. Would not give it a rocket launcher. Would not give it a custom Mega Blaster because you hit too little of the time. So I would lean
weight of fire.
Yeah, so I'd lean into either. You could go big shooters. That's fine. I think there's other ways to get big shooters in this army for cheaper. So if I was planning to get 2 big shooters, I would ask myself, why am I not taking any of these other units that also can take big shooters?
Do that. Yeah.
So for me, it's like I want another Dreadnought close combat weapon and maybe a Scorcha or 2 Scorchas.
Agreed. I think that could be great because that's essentially a heavy flamer.
Yeah. So, and if you have 2 heavy flamers, I mean, I already sometimes quite rate a Dreadnought with 1 heavy flamer. It's pretty scary. So this is a Dreadnought with 2 heavy flamers, and it's already pretty darn fighty. So, but imagine multiple of those.
Yeah.
Let's pretend there's 2 and a battle wagon and some dedicated transport trucks.
Right. Now they have to pick and choose.
What are we shooting at?
Whatever he kills, you're not happy about, but you are happy that the other things didn't get shot.
Yeah. So you just present a lot of options, and Def Dreads I think are scary enough to where people are like, okay, I got to shoot at that, and that means that then maybe your transports made it in,
which is also good.
Yep.
And then Killicans are just the baby brother of the Def Dread. They're goblins inside of a can instead of orcs inside of a can, and they have pretty much all the same options. They just have worse armor, better ballistic skill, and 1 fewer attacks. Oh, and much worse weapon skill. So I think if you're going to do something with ranged weapons, I think this is another option for doing the rocket launches or custom Mega Blasters. The Grotzukas, I'm trying to remember what those do.
They're like strength 6 something, although now I know my book is
heavy
wrong.
2 blast, which is kind of fun because it's 2 blast markers that you get to put down. So that could be fun as well. But I think if I was going to take these, I'd probably lean more towards making them ranged versions of it.
Definitely.
But they come with the Dreadnought close combat weapon anyways, and then only have one ranged weapon. So it's kind of a weird thing since they're not, with their weapon skill too, great at close combat, but are built to be at least half close combat.
Well, I think, let me stand back. I think these are excellent for their cost. Remember when I said I would never take a big shootout on a Def Dread? It's because these exist. They're just way more efficient, better ballistic
points.
Skill.
Yeah.
So they're just
less than half of
significantly better. So I would never take, if I'm thinking about it, I guess, if the opportunity
but would
cost.
You take, well, I guess it's heavy support. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, now if it was a troop choice one or whatever, maybe you could make an argument. But generally speaking, I want to note too, these are armor 11 in the front and side. And not open top. These are surprisingly tanky for how cheap they are. Sentinels wish they were as tanky
only 10
as
around, right?
Yeah. So these can take bolter shots and don't care. So these are very tanky for their cost. Again, 35 points base. Sure, you have to buy a gun, but if you're just taking a big Shuta or a Scorcha, would not take a Scorcha. But if you're taking a big Shuta, they're 40 points each. These are Terminators that are immune to small arms fire. You kind of think about it that way.
True, yeah.
They have to be shot at by dedicated or strong weapons. Now, if you're taking big squadrons of them, do they have that problem? Yes, but less so because they're shooting focused anyway, so I'm less worried about leaving guys behind.
Right.
For me, I like the Grotzuka for the blast. Or big shooters. Rocket launches,
since they're not twin linked.
For me, I mean, they are BS3, but I'm just going for weight of dice here. For me, I would just have lots of them with big shooters or lots of them with Grotzukas and just trying to put out lots of wounds and then saying, you can't hurt me back.
Yeah.
And then if they do get to you because you're shooting at them and hopefully winning, I guess, the shooting fight, and then they get to you, you go, okay, I have a Dreadnought close combat weapon, and sure, you're a Marine, but I still hit you on a 4, and I'm strength 10, ignore armor saves. So
still pretty nasty. That's true. I guess the low weapon skill isn't as punishing.
Yeah, now they hit you very easily, but so if they have melt-a-bombs, goodbye, but or whatever. But what I'm getting at is like a Space Marine captain or whatever, chapter master, if he doesn't have adamantine mantle, can just die to a Killacan because they rolled. Now, I guess their weapon skill 5, so you only hit on 5s. But if you roll a 5 to hit, it's like going to be a 2 to wound by Space Marine chapter master.
Crunch.
My little guy just snapped you in half.
Yeah.
So I think they're tremendous.
Yeah, and awesome models once again.
Yes, also great.
Flash Gits are heavy support, which is interesting because they're a infantry model.
Yeah.
And so they're one of the only, I think maybe the only Ork infantry besides Mega Knobs that don't come with a 6-up save by default. So they've got that heavy armor built into them. But 25 points a model. They also have the option for the Pain Boy, which we already talked about with the knobs. And they have the ability to sort of customize their guns to do different jobs, which I think is cool. They're only 5 points for the upgrades. You have to roll for their armor penetration value. So they could be very good, AP1, just sniping Terminators, but you could roll 6s. So one of those upgrades lets you subtract 1 from that armor roll. One of them, I think, gives them an extra shot, and one of them increases the strength, I believe.
Yeah, it goes from strength 5 to 6, I think, and then 1 is another shot, and once the AP gets an extra -1.
Yeah. They also have the Git Finder, which, if I recall correctly, is...
set to Pansy.
Yes. Just helps them hit more, right?
Yeah, so it's something like that.
Oh, no, it's just they can measure their range before declaring their target, which...
That's nice, I guess.
Yeah, sometimes you're at that point where you're like, am I just in? Am I just out?
Yeah, it could help.
But, yeah, anyways.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Flash Gits. They're basically shooty knobs.
Yeah, which have the potential to be really good if you roll well on that armor penetration thing, but... It's pretty random.
I just don't know what...
And it's only Assault 1, I guess. So I guess you take the upgrade, make it Assault 2. That's not too bad, but they're expensive at 30 points a model.
Yeah, so they're very cool. They're just, I feel, very inefficient.
Yeah.
In an army of efficiency.
And I guess if I'm thinking about other heavy support options, this is definitely not at the top of my list.
Yeah, for me, this is the worst unit in the book. I might be wrong, and I'm willing to be wrong. And I think they can work? Potentially, yes, because you could just roll a 1 on your AP roll and pick up, again, a squad of Terminators turn 1. That can definitely happen, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that will happen. But there will also be games where your very expensive unit... can't
even hit anything because they're still ballistic skill 2.
Can't hit
they're not
much.
Making that many shots with the max unit size of 10.
And then they roll a 6 on their AP, and then the guardsmen are getting armor saves. Now is that going to happen often? No, but
yeah, when you average those out, they're still kind of mediocre.
Yeah, I'm not in love. They're fine. Worth noting too, they're decent in melee. They are still a knob, so they'll still chop guys. So I don't know.
Next up, we've got big guns, which are Gretchen artillery essentially, and you've got some different options here. You can have 1 to 3 big guns in the unit for 1 heavy support choice, and it's just an artillery battery, so you can take cannons, labas, or zap guns, which are like a mortar or just a
the zap gun is like kind of random strength, I think. The zap gun, it's 2d6 strength,
so and AP2, so it could be very good at picking off vehicles and things like that if you roll well. But 2d6, you're averaging 7, so that's at least a little more reliable on that roll rather than a d6. And you do have to bring the runt herds with these just to keep the goblins in line, and that's, just a narrative-y thing. You can take extra grot crew since they'll die pretty easily, but this is one of the few units that is actually unit-type artillery, which is a funny thing, that's like called out as a specific unit type, and then there's just not that many of them in the game.
Yeah,
but this is one.
There they are.
In fact, this is the picture in the main rule book for that unit type.
What? Well, they are it. Can they even move? I don't even know. But for me, without getting into the specifics of that, I like the cannon of the Laba. The zap gun makes them increasing costs by 50% from 20 points a gun to 30, and it's random strength. So I mean that's fine, I guess. Not excited about it though. The cannon is just strength 8 all the time if you want, and it can do crag or shell apparently. So
which is kind of just like frag.
It's
or crack.
Basically frag or crack missiles. And
that's only 20 points per gun. So
yeah, I think that's very good. Only 36-inch range, which is long-ish, but not
if they're deployed well. But yeah.
However, the Laba, which normally I don't love guess range weapons, but because they scatter a lot more. But that means they don't need line of sight, and it's guess 48. So you could theoretically
flexible.
Yeah, you could just put them in the back corner behind a house or something where they will never be touched, and just basically shoot all game and just hope to do stuff.
Yeah, and against certain armies that are more horde, then even if you're scattering, you're going to hit something probably.
Yeah, so like Tyranids, I could see a big horde. Other Ork players, Guard, etc. Maybe even certain like Tau or Eldar or Dark Eldar armies. Dark Eldar has terrible armor as well. So there's some units where I would like the Labas, and then because they're out of line of sight, they don't just die, because these guys are again toughness 2.
Yeah.
So they're just gonna die to anything. So
that's a good point. That helps keep them safe.
Yes.
Hey, this runt herd doesn't have mob rule. How about that?
Neither did. Yeah, you're right. Well, they needed a third edition of this book.
Yeah, I guess, so they could take it away from the Gretchen one.
Yeah, maybe they wanted to minimize the confusion there.
And then finally, we have a looted wagon, which is, again, very cheap at only 35 points.
Yeah.
Ballistic skill 2, front and side armor of 11, rear armor of 10, but very customizable. The idea here is obviously that this is some other faction's tank that has been taken by the Orks and then Orkified, so lots of modeling opportunities there, but it also could just be kind of a custom creation if you want it to be. And you've got the boom gun option, which is,
I think it's again, like strength 8 AP3. Yep. Yeah, large blast. It's basically a battle cannon.
Yeah. So pretty good there, and you can pop a Scorcha on there instead if you want, and then
don't hate that, actually.
Yeah, for only 15 points, we're talking a 50-point cheap tank that can just drive in there.
Yeah.
It would be nice, I think, if there was a way to up armor it a little bit.
I agree.
Boost the armor values.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the main downside to this, is it's stuck at that
armor
front
11.
and side armor 11, and that's going to make it die quick. You can also only take, it's not like a squad vehicle, so only one per slot. So you can't necessarily overwhelm the enemy with a bunch of these cheap vehicles.
Yeah.
So I think that's a little bit tough there for this. But I think for the modeling opportunities, it's cool. I'm planning on making one eventually. One of our guys gave me some misprinted Rhino parts that he tried to do. So I think I'll be able to turn those into a looted Rhino somehow.
Should work.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's like, well, what do I want to do with this if I'm not taking the boom gun and just build my own worse Lehman Russ? Which is fine, honestly, again, because it's ordnance. Orcs actually kind of like that better.
Agreed, yep.
But it's kind of like an alternative version or option for the truck. The problem is the truck is so good, and as we talked about, the ramshackle rule is really good, whereas this doesn't have ramshackle. Yeah. So here, if your transport gets penned, then you're all entangled again.
True.
And
so not as good as not as good for a transport.
It is armor 11, so it will not just die to bolter fire, theoretically, like the truck could, but I don't know.
It also has a weird special rule called don't press that, which is the idea forward. That they didn't build this from the ground up, so they don't know how it all works, and so if they push the wrong button, it just drives forward as fast as it can, which for Orks isn't usually a problem. Usually you are wanting to do that, but if you're using the boom gun, that's a problem because now you've moved and you can't fire your ordnance weapon.
Yeah. I don't know. It's fine. It's very customizable. If it was up to me and I was like playing for efficiency, I would only take it with the boom gun. Or honestly, the Scorcha for 15 points ain't terrible, and don't even think about it as a transport and just drive around as a flame tank.
Yeah.
And then you can give it big shoot as sponsons. So.
But why not do that with the war buggy?
You're right.
Cheaper and you're fast.
You're right.
So I don't know. I mean, it's a little less armor, but
yeah, I guess it's just
you could have 3 of them.
How are you valuing armor? 11.
Yeah.
But then you could argue kilocans again. Yeah. So it's a problem of like opportunity cost with some of these.
I think that's
units.
With the force organization chart and the different slots. I think that's what it often comes down to. But that brings us to the end of the Ork Codex. And I think we covered a lot of kind of the tactics and approaches as we went through it, so I don't think we need to do too much wrap up. But do you have any final thoughts?
Probably one of my favorite books of all time. They're even like the unit I think I said was probably worse was like the flash kits. I think it's totally workable. I don't think there's anything in here that's like, oh man, I would never use this, or that it fails in terms of flavor. Like I feel like
everything
all the
feels
units
very fluffy. Yeah,
feels like what it should.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like I put this on the table and I didn't get what I expected.
From how it was described.
Right, I didn't have a disconnect. It's
that's
just
always
like,
nice. Yeah.
So I think, I don't know who wrote this one, but I think they did Phil Kelly. I think he did an excellent job. So probably one of my favorite Warhammer 40,000 codexes of all time, and probably the first one I ever used to build an army with. So.
Nice. I don't have anything to add to that, but did you have a favorite piece of art?
Oh yeah, I did. I'll go light speed here. So I really liked the art on page, I think I wrote 22.
Ooh, with the Steel Legion?
Yeah.
I had that written down too, but as like a...
I know Gazgul's on it, but I'm a little biased. I do like the Steel Legion.
That's why I like that one, is more because the Steel Legion than the Orks being
Yeah, I really like the Steel Legion look. But the Orks are awesome too, and I think that's Gazgul right there.
Yeah.
And I just, I don't know, love the vibe. Love
it's a great battle
the
scene.
Titan in the back.
Yeah.
Big fan. Gazgul dominates the scene alongside just this random guardsman with a bolt pistol shooting at him very ineffectively.
Yeah, but bravely.
Bravely.
So brave.
Yeah, all those guardsmen are about to just get completely crumped.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know how... They are very brave to be that close to those orcs.
I mean, they might not have chosen to be.
That's true. They're not Death Corps, though. They didn't just like, well, we're going to die. I imagine... those guys, Steel Legion, are a little bit more like free thinking, or whatever. Maybe I'm wrong.
My pick, well, first of all, there's tons of like these little drawings of Grots all the way throughout, and so many of those are so funny and kind of represent different elements of things that they can do, or different upgrades that they count as, like the Oilers and the ammo runs and things. So love those. But my pick was on page 92, and it's some Killicans, or maybe Def Dreads. I think they're Killicans. They've only got 2 arms. Some Burna Boys, some Knobs. It's just got a good variety of the Ork Horde. It's really kind of compact, almost like it's on a long lens, so that everything's kind of stuffed in there. You see the belching smoke, all these different weapons, and kind of the ramshackle nature of the Killicans. It's just, really good. I think it's, again, one of those kind of like classic style pieces of this era of Warhammer. And really just sells the whole vibe of the Orks for me. So
for sure,
really like that one.
Very cool army, yeah. And I think you're right; those are cans. But yeah,
that brings us to the end then of this episode. Very long episode, almost 2.5 hours. But,
are we going to be longer than the Ork fantasy book?
Yeah, we'll see.
Review.
Oh man. But thanks for listening. If you made it this far, appreciate you sticking with us. And that's all we have for now. So thanks.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.